A lone figure stands firmly on the remains of a fallen creature, gripping a sword plunged into its body. The city around him lies in ruins, shattered buildings and debris scattered everywhere. It's been 6 months since the world lost its normal way of life. Sitting on a broken stone, the young man examines his sword, acknowledging it as a good weapon worth the price he paid. He touches his injured arm and admits he needs to heal now. With determination, he commands the word, "Shop," and a holographic interface appears before him, displaying various items and prices. He selects 2 healing potions, water, and some food for later. As he interacts with the interface, he reflects on how he's getting used to this new reality and the mysterious skill he now possesses. Taking a sip of water while peeling off a bandage from his arm, he faces off against grotesque creatures in a shattered building, slashing through them with swift sword strikes. Confident, he reflects that with his skill, he can buy anything, tools, weapons, medicine, and in this world, that makes him the strongest. Suddenly, the scene shifts to a school hallway where the young man stands silently, burdened by a familiar, dull routine. He finds the monotony unbearable as he picks up his scattered belongings, feeling trapped in this boring cycle. As he kneels to gather papers, classmates mock him with cruel laughter and whispers, calling him a loser. The teacher's stern voice cuts through the jeers, commanding everyone to sit down and addressing the young man directly, demanding order in the classroom. The teacher's harsh tone continues, urging him to hurry and take his seat. The young man internally laments how this teacher is just like always, and how he ended up in this humiliating situation. He notices how those who once pitted him now accept it as normal, while he contemplates the main cause of his downfall. A loud, cheerful greeting breaks the morning silence as a confident student strides in. Smirking down at another sprawled on the floor, the teacher calls out, pointing out the tardiness, but the latecomer shrugs it off, blaming the train delay. The confident student seeks approval from his friends, daring anyone to have a problem with his attitude. The teacher's stern glare warns otherwise, but the arrogant boy remains unfazed. The teacher refuses to accept excuses, telling the student to be more careful next time. The confident boy responds with a cocky grin and a casual, loud acknowledgement. He then forcefully steps on the other student, who winces in pain. While the surrounding classmates laugh at the display, the victim is told to move aside, and the tormentor jokes that he mistook the act for a bug, mocking the pain inflicted. The narration reveals the identities. The arrogant student is Usaka Edo, grandson of the school chairman, despite his privileged status and the chairman's indulgence. No one dares oppose Usaka's abuse of power, except one person, the narrator, who refuses to accept this tyrant's reign. The scene shifts to a quieter moment where the narrator is addressed by a group of students. One demands a beer, ordering the narrator to buy it for him. The narrator calmly refuses, dismissing the request as impossible, while the others look on with mixed amusement and disbelief. The classroom buzzes with uneasy whispers as a boy sits on the floor, clearly hurt. A girl nearby claps her hands nervously, calling out to him with concern. The injured boy struggles to stand, but a tall student coldly orders him to leave, calling him a piece of trash. A small object flies through the air, catching the attention of another student. The injured boy suddenly launches a fierce punch at the tall student, who is caught off guard and thrown back violently. The surrounding students react with shock and fear, while the attacker's determined gaze sharpens. The boy who threw the punch reflects on the aftermath, realizing that from then on, Usaka Edo kept a watchful eye on him. He becomes the target of relentless bullying. Despite his hope that his bold act would earn him respect or attention, the reality is far harsher. The boy's expression hardens as he recalls the cold truth. Fear, hate, and distrust fill the eyes of his classmates. Most of them side with Usaka, joining in the bullying instead of standing up for him. The boy sits alone at his desk, lost in thought as classmates pass by. He realizes that even if Usaka Edo were gone, he still wouldn't get along peacefully with these students. His distrust deepens. After everything, he can't trust anyone. A voice calls his name, but he remains guarded as others approach, their footsteps creaking ominously. They dismiss any chance of peace, reinforcing his isolation. A girl nervously steps forward, introducing herself as Totoki Koine, the class representative by name alone. She hesitates, clearly uneasy but determined to speak. The boy watches her carefully, still guarded but acknowledging her presence. Totoki struggles to find the right words, asking if he is okay. He brusquely tells her it's none of her business, his tone cold and distant. She quickly apologizes, bowing her head in regret, feeling the weight of his rejection. Nearby students gossip harshly, questioning why she would bother with him and mocking his constant bullying. Another student warns them not to speak without knowing the truth, Insisting the real fault lies with those who torment him, Totoki, despite her efforts, is told to leave and apologizes again before retreating. The boy remains seated, expression unreadable as the classroom tension lingers. A boy sits on a crate, taunting a group, pinning another boy to the ground, mocking his weak resistance. He complains about tiring of beating him up, questioning where the boy who once punched him back has gone, calling him boring. The boy on the crate suggests killing the pinned boy, calling him trash nobody would miss. He cruelly mocks the pinned boy's dead parents and lonely life since his first year, sneering at his pitiful existence. The pinned boy's expression hardens with determination. The boy on the crate suddenly hands a knife to a nearby student named Ishida, ordering him to cut the pinned boy's throat a little. Ishida hesitates, surprised by the command. The boy on the crate lashes out, yelling at Ishida for questioning him and calling him a fucking idiot and pussy. He aggressively lunges forward, striking Ishida with a powerful kick. The pinned boy groans weakly as blood drips from him, while the others nearby turn sharply, alarmed by the sudden shift. Ishida's eyes narrow with a sharp focus. The boy on the crate grabs the pinned boy by the hair, pulling him up roughly. Ishida steps forward, holding the knife tightly, as the others recoil slightly. The boy on the crate leans in close, holding the pinned boy's hair and knife menacingly. He demands the boy cry and beg for mercy, promising to let him go if he does. He mocks the boy's stubbornness, telling him it's pointless and ordering him to swear loyalty. The pinned boy's expression remains fierce, refusing to submit. The tormentor sneers, recognizing the defiant look in the boy's eyes once again, frustrated. He kicks the boy hard, sending him sprawling to the ground. The group watches tensely as the boy lies there, the tormentor's boredom growing. Back in the classroom, Totoki Koine watches silently, her expression troubled as students move about. Outside, the pinned boy rubs his bruised arm, laughing bitterly at his defeat. He admits to himself that he got beaten up once again, resigned but unbroken. A voice commands Hiro to give up, warning him that only fools struggle and hurt themselves. He must accept reality, as a framed photo and incense burn quietly in the background. Hiro slams his fist against the wall, declaring to his father that he won't die like him. He insists he won't run from life's absurdities. Clutching his head in pain, Hiro stumbles, bewildered by a sudden sharp headache. He wonders if something happened as he looks toward a distant commotion. Chaos erupts as monstrous creatures invade the school grounds, causing students to scream and flee in terror. Some rush inside the building, desperate to escape the onslaught. A monstrous creature crashes through the school grounds, smashing the pavement beneath it. Students scream and scramble as the creature's massive fist swings down, grabbing one boy and hurling him violently into the air. The creature advances, its heavy footsteps shaking the ground as terrified students flee in all directions. One boy stands frozen, eyes wide with shock, questioning what these terrifying beings could be and what is happening around him. A boy stares in shock, struggling to comprehend the chaos around him. He questions if the monstrous creature just devoured someone as it towers nearby, while terrified students scatter in panic. Fearful that the creatures will come for him next, he decides he must leave immediately, knowing they could attack at any moment. He resolves to return to the classroom first, despite the growing dread and distrust among the students. The boy steels himself, pushing through the crowd with a determined expression, aware that danger lurks everywhere. He admits to himself the absurdity of worrying about others amid the crisis but cannot shake the concern. Totoki Koine urgently tells him her bag is still in the classroom, prompting him to reconsider. He questions whether he really needs it now but remains resolute. Meanwhile, a phone rings in a dark, empty room where a strange, monstrous figure looms silently. The call connects to the Metropolitan Police emergency line, but the creature's eerie presence fills the silence as it listens intently, its single eye opening wide. An ambulance races through heavy traffic, sirens blaring urgently. People scream and scramble as the vehicle demands the road be cleared. On the sidewalk, a terrified girl collapses, screaming as a grotesque creature approaches her. A young man gasps in shock, realizing the horror isn't confined to the school. He questions if the monsters have spread throughout the town. Noting they have devoured people, his eyes dart anxiously as destruction unfolds nearby. Flames engulf a street as the young man flees in terror. The monstrous creatures loom amid the chaos, and he stares wide-eyed at the devastation, determined. He breaks into a desperate run through the burning city. The young man slows, catching his breath near a quiet residential area. Hearing a scream, he cautiously peers inside a house. Suddenly, a creature lunges at a person inside, its claws striking down violently as he watches in alarm. The young man dashes through the neighborhood, Overwhelmed by the sheer number of monsters invading every corner, he hears desperate cries for help echoing from nearby houses. Panic grips him as he suddenly realizes his own home is in danger. He cautiously approaches and opens the front door, relief washing over him as he notes everything appears normal. Inside, the lights still work, and the house remains untouched by the chaos outside. He lets out a breath, grateful for this small sanctuary. Turning on the TV, he watches a breaking news report detailing numerous sightings of unknown creatures terrorizing the city, with many injured and emergency services deployed. The gravity of the situation sinks in as he realizes the disaster isn't isolated to his town but spreading across Japan and possibly the world. He winces, clutching his aching body covered in bandages, recalling the pain that started back when the attacks began. The young man recalls the brutal fight, his eyes wide with shock as he processes the relentless attacks. He realizes these beings aren't ordinary monsters. They emerged from inside the school, attacking without fear, confused and alarmed. He questions what they really are. Sitting on a couch, he pulls at his shirt, frustrated by how badly he was beaten. His gaze shifts to a shelf filled with countless books. He reflects on stories from web novels where monsters from other worlds suddenly invade ours. His mind returns to the creature he saw. It resembled a goblin. He contemplates the precedent for these times and decides he should at least try something to respond. Standing, he extends his hand and commands, "Status, open." As his shirt flutters to the floor, he prepares to check his current condition, determined to understand his situation. He acknowledges the outside is clearly dangerous with all the creatures roaming around. Realizing he'll soon run out of food and toiletries, he decides to prepare in advance. Despite the uncertainty, he knows he should stock up now if this situation continues. Watching the news, he hears that unknown creatures have appeared inside the town police department. If the police and JSDF are fully armed and prepared, it's only a matter of time until things calm down. However, shots fired inside the police station suggest the creatures may have taken over the building. He believes the JSDF can handle it, but a sudden scream startles him. On live TV, chaos erupts as people shout to run away and capture photos of the monsters invading a studio. His eyes widen in shock as the broadcast glitches and distorts. The news reports a large number of unidentified creatures appearing inside the Shui television department around 2 p.m. Many are wounded or missing, and searching the building is deemed too difficult. He contemplates the disaster of a violent power worse than humans, worrying about the monsters running rampant worldwide. If it comes to that, he fears humanity might have to rely on nuclear weapons or even fight among itself for survival. A young man sits on the floor, gripping his head, questioning if he can survive in this world. Nearby, a figure with wild hair tells him, "You get it, don't you?" As the young man faces away, burdened. The man is told there's nothing left to do and that his mother won't come back. A framed photo of a woman and incense emphasize the loss. The voice urges him to give up. The young man suddenly shouts, "Whatever!" and decides to do some shopping while he still can, wondering what he needs to buy. He plans his errands, realizing he must hurry to the supermarket first, then the department store, but he has to return home to drop off bags first. Frustration builds as he curses the time it will take. He wishes for a magical skill like teleportation or flight to save time, his expression shifting to surprise as something catches his attention. The young man raises his hand as a glowing, fragmented text appears before him, announcing a shop-unique skill. Activating with a burst of energy, a glowing message announces that a unique skill has awakened. Catching the young man off guard, he stammers, questioning what a unique skill could be, staring at the floating text labeled shop. Slowly, realization dawns that they do get skills after all, and he mutters in awe. He reflects on how not only monsters but skills have appeared, making this feel like a fantasy world. Despite the strangeness, he accepts this as the new reality and grows curious about the nature of this shop skill. He summons a translucent interface in front of him, preparing to explore it. The interface resembles a website filled with various items and categories. He notices terms like box, balance, and recommended. Scanning the options carefully, his finger hovers over the screen, intrigued by the digital marketplace now at his fingertips. He focuses on a healing potion on sale for 150 points. Reading that it recovers stamina and heals wounds instantly upon drinking. Seeing he has 3,000 points in his balance, he decides to buy the potion as a gift for the penniless. With determination, he presses the purchase button, ready to test this newfound skill. The confirmation comes through. The healing potion has been purchased and sent to the box. He breathes out, surprised at how easy the process was. Curiously, he reaches out to access the box, wondering if this is where the item now resides. He examines the potion carefully, then clicks to retrieve it. The small bottle rolls onto the surface in front of him. Holding it up, he questions if all he needs to do is drink it. He uncorks the potion and drinks it slowly, eyes fixed on the bottle. Suddenly, he notices the pain vanishing. He lifts his shirt, astonished to find the wound completely healed. His astonishment deepens as he realizes the shop skill offers everything: medicine, weapons, magic, food, and daily necessities. The effects match the descriptions perfectly. A confident smile spreads as he acknowledges that with this skill, he can survive well even in a monster-filled world. Monsters loom around the school building as a crowd pushes forward anxiously. Totoki Koine struggles amid the throng, pleading for space and expressing hope to save someone named Bauchikuin. She refuses to remain passive, determined not to do nothing again. A young man peers through a scope, explaining it as a status scope that reveals the condition of objects. He identifies the school as a low-level dungeon housing 4 monsters and 1 core. Searching for his phone, he pats his pockets and suddenly remembers its location. His gaze shifts to the school, now confirmed as a low-level dungeon with 42 monsters and 2 cores inside. A man stands on a rooftop, observing the school and muttering that it's a den of monsters. Inside a room, he hesitates at the doorway, acknowledging the risk but determined not to lose the contents of a phone. Resolute, he lunges forward, ready to retrieve it no matter what. He browses an online shop, starting with weapons. He notes a knife priced at 20,000 yen and examines it closely. The knife, called a killer knife, has a 5% chance to instantly kill the target, but he dismisses it as mostly just a knife and looks for stronger weapons. Then, he spots another item priced at 810,000 yen and reacts with surprise at the cost. His attention shifts to a battle guide priced at 10,000 yen. Realizing it can teach martial arts just by reading it, he debates whether having it might be better than not. He admits he can't say the knife is a strong weapon and calculates he can afford only so much with his current money. Worried, he wonders if his phone will be safe until morning if he waits to gather more funds. He decides he can't afford to lose the phone and has no choice but to fight using what he has. His eyes narrow with determination as he prepares to purchase the battle guide. The scene shifts to a quiet, empty schoolyard and then to an empty classroom, emphasizing the looming danger and his solitary resolve. The phone's screen glows dimly, showing the late hour. She grips a wooden bat tightly, her expression tense but resolved. She thinks about how Bauchikuin must have escaped, and that she only needs to survive through the night. The empty school corridors stretch out beneath her, silent and foreboding. The quiet schoolyard remains deserted as she steels herself, the weight of the night pressing down. Her thoughts linger on the late hour and the hope that Bauchikuin got away. She braces for the long hours ahead, determined to endure until dawn. A figure crouches in a hallway, observing 8 creatures lurking nearby in this part of the building. He notes just one more adversary on this floor. A dangerous F-rank goblin. Confidence flickers in his eyes as he believes he can handle the threat. Suddenly, the goblin appears, its single eye glaring menacingly. The man curses, realizing the creature came from another building. He lunges forward, knife drawn. But the goblin's presence is overwhelming. His eyes widen in shock as the battle begins. The man strikes fiercely, knocking down the goblin with a powerful blow. He turns away calmly, noting the move he just used came straight from the battle guide. The defeated goblin lies motionless as he walks down the hallway. He reflects on the fantasy tactics, realizing they aren't just for show. Clenching his knife, he resolves to quickly retrieve what he forgot and head home. A small monster lurks nearby, but he remains focused. Meanwhile, Totoki Koine hears a noise and freezes, gripping her wooden bat tightly. Fear spikes as she wonders if the monster has returned. She quietly locks herself in a small room, trembling as she braces for the threat. Suddenly, a hand clamps over her mouth, stifling her scream. Another figure bursts in, shouting loudly. The man quickly silences her, warning her to be quiet as he recognizes her muffled voice as Bauchikuin. Bauchikuin clamps a hand over Totoki Koine's mouth, silencing her scream as she struggles. He exhales sharply, signaling her to stay quiet. After releasing her, he urges her to come along, promising to explain later. She asks if he's safe, and he reassures her before they move together down the hallway. Totoki Koine breathes a sigh of relief, her face softening with gratitude and tears as she says she's so relieved. Suddenly, Bauchikuin stumbles, and Hiro calls out to him in concern. Bauchikuin collapses to the floor, Totoki immediately falling onto him. He mutters in frustration, acknowledging he can't leave her alone here, gripping a knife tightly as he braces for what's next. A memory surfaces of a boy comforting a crying girl, promising it's okay now. He was always there when she needed help. She wipes tears, determined to become someone who can help others too. their hands clasped tightly. A harsh voice taunts Hiro, mocking his loneliness and telling him to be grateful for soon meeting his parents in heaven. Surrounded by hostile peers, Hiro reaches out, vowing to stop the bullying and help. A girl softly calls his name, her voice filled with concern. Hiro wakes up confused in a cluttered, lived-in room, wondering where he is. A phone vibrates nearby, catching a girl's attention as she sits up. Suddenly, her expression shifts to shock as she recalls a terrifying memory of monsters chasing her. A man answers the door, confirming he is the girl's brother. She nervously offers to pick up her sister, but the girl panics, realizing this is her friend's house. Her wide eyes reveal her shock and fear at the unexpected situation. He asks what happened, but she insists he not worry about it, though confusion floods her mind as she wonders why she's here and if her face is red or her hair looks strange. She questions if this is Bauchikuin's house, while he silently thinks he doesn't want her to stay long. She's told to leave if she's awake, and she quietly agrees, promising to go. Turning away, she thanks him for saving her, her voice soft and full of gratitude. He dismisses her thanks, saying it doesn't matter. She chokes back tears, preparing to leave to pick up her sister, her expression heavy with unspoken feelings as she walks toward the door. Before leaving, she apologizes to Bauchikuin for not helping him when he was bullied. Admitting she was too scared, he shrugs off her apology, refusing to blame her, and she realizes he understands her feelings all too well. He insists no one can truly sacrifice themselves for another, and she quietly agrees, hesitating before admitting she wanted to be like him. She confesses her wish to be brave enough to stand up against Usaka-kuin's wrongdoings, and to become someone he could trust. Hoping to help him, he counters with skepticism, claiming it's impossible for people to trust each other freely. She insists she trusts him, but he calls it pointless, accusing her of deciding what's best for him. He warns she would betray him because she can't sacrifice herself. He explains that betrayal is easy when lives are at stake, not just from her but from himself too. Humans inevitably betray and get betrayed, so to live wisely, he urges her not to trust him or anyone else. She hesitates, then quietly says okay. He suddenly shouts he'll trust her, shocking her. She panics, yelling for him not to trust her, insisting she won't trust him because she trusts him too much. He reacts with confusion. She reminds him he carried her all the way from school and saved her, demanding he let her trust him now. Tears fill her eyes as she argues it's unreasonable to save her then tell her not to trust him. She defiantly declares she won't trust him because he told her not to, shouting for him to have good luck alone. He silently watches her leave, thinking what an annoying girl she is. Outside, a woman thanks her for taking care of Mahina and offers help since no one else is home. She politely declines, saying they're fine. She then notices their apartment building looks strange. Puzzled, she recognizes the terrifying creatures hanging from balconies and recalls the chaos they caused before. Panic rises as she realizes they're here now too. Urgently, she insists they must reach the evacuation shelter. The creatures invade even the primary school, forcing children and adults to flee in terror. She clutches the younger girl tightly, deciding to protect Mahina at all costs, knowing there's nowhere else to go but the house from earlier. The alley was safe moments ago, but suddenly a creature attacks, screaming. She panics, trapped with no escape, while Mahina clings to her back. Desperation mounts as she calls out for help. A young man orders her to leave, calling her selfish for returning after leaving before. She tearfully admits she has nowhere else to go, begging for shelter just for today. He hesitates but asks if the place is okay, showing reluctant concern. The little girl clings tightly to Koininichin's sleeve, her fear evident as she trembles. She tearfully confesses her terror, convinced the same horrors will strike here too. Koininichin reassures her firmly, promising this place is safe. The girl begs to leave, desperate and crying, saying they have nowhere else to go. Koininichin gently wipes her tears, apologizing softly. Then, a calm voice calls out, inviting them inside. The girl looks up in surprise, hesitant but hopeful. The young man insists the place is safe and urges them to trust him. He repeats the invitation to come inside, but only for today. The girl and Koininichin exchange uncertain glances before stepping forward, relief washing over them as they enter the shelter. He steps out of the bath, commenting on how big it is, quietly. He wonders if the owner lives alone in such a large house. A vivid memory surfaces. He had a dream where he stood with a group of warriors, ready to face an approaching horde of monstrous creatures. Suddenly, he is kicked hard and falls to the ground, surrounded by a group of laughing students watching his defeat. The nightmare continues as he finds himself helpless, overwhelmed and torn apart by the monsters. leaving him with a sickening feeling as tears stream down his face. He wakes, rubbing his forehead, realizing the nightmare was just a dream, but this place is not. Sitting on the bed, he decides to explore more of the shop's offerings, determined to get used to it. He notes the variety available: food, games, weapons, and feels hopeful. His attention sharpens on the weapons category, wondering if magical weapons are included. Shock hits as he sees a price tag of 2 trillion. Questioning how he could ever afford it, he studies the specs carefully, intrigued and overwhelmed by the power described. Thinking further, he reasons that if the shop has everything, familiars should be available too. Browsing the monster listings, he realizes how expensive they are, but the possibility of buying monsters excites him. His eyes light up at a cute familiar on sale that can talk and pledges absolute loyalty to its master. The idea fascinates him as he contemplates the potential bond and power this creature could bring. He inserts money into the machine, watching the digital interface flash confirmation as his order processes quickly. His gaze fixes on the screen, anticipation building. The ordered item materializes as a dark liquid drop falls with a soft plop. He carefully slices something with a knife, the blade sliding smoothly. The liquid begins to transform, swirling and expanding into a large, glowing mass that fills the room. He watches intently as the shape solidifies, a creature taking form before him. The creature reveals itself as a small, round owl with wide eyes and flapping wings. He gasps in awe, overwhelmed by the sudden appearance of this living familiar. He stares at the small owl familiar, overwhelmed by how incredibly cute it is. The owl suddenly flaps its wings, causing him to recoil in surprise as it crashes into his face, shouting his name. The owl clings tightly to his head, squeaking loudly and causing him to panic. He tries to calm it down, but the familiar tearfully apologizes, expressing joy at finally meeting him. He sits quietly, unsure how to respond. He reaches out to gently pet the owl, who nuzzles against his hand affectionately, smiling softly. He considers the owl's name and suggests calling it Soul, as a nickname for Sonic Owl. The owl flaps its wings again, accidentally hitting him and declaring its new name proudly. He marvels at the fact that it can talk, and the owl boasts it can even transform into a human form, offering to demonstrate immediately. A sudden burst of energy swirls wildly as a small creature strains with effort. The creature reveals itself as a cheerful girl with long hair, her expression bright and triumphant as she floats upward. She soars through the air, her joyful presence catching the attention of a young man lying on a bed. He watches her with wide eyes, struck by how incredibly cute she is. Suddenly, a loud crash echoes through the house, drawing the shocked gaze of 2 girls nearby. They exchange alarmed looks as they rush toward the source of the noise. The door creaks open to reveal the girl landing atop the young man, who lies sprawled on the floor amid scattered belongings. She introduces herself enthusiastically as Soul. 2 other figures peek in, concerned by the loud noise and the unexpected scene. The young man looks uneasy, realizing the situation is problematic as one of the newcomers questions who the girl is. He quickly explains that she is his cousin, trying to calm the confusion. The girls react with surprise, repeating his words in disbelief. The young man insists she is just staying at his place, but the repeated astonished echoes of question mark linger as the scene shifts to a quiet neighborhood at dusk. The words, "She's my cousin," hanging in the air. The owl asks the young man what he's doing, noticing his focus on knives and potions. He replies he's depositing all his money before shopping, determined to conquer a dungeon. Survival mode kicks into high gear as he prepares seriously. 2 weeks after the incident, the world appears calmer but still troubled. A girl walks through a quiet street, the atmosphere tense despite the seeming normalcy. A news report details the rising casualties caused by man-eating monsters, with the missing still unaccounted for. Inside a home, the girl checks her phone anxiously while a small child eagerly reaches for food nearby, her worry about everyone's safety clear. Reflecting on recent events, the girl recalls Bao telling her to do whatever she wants. Though they haven't talked much, she admits he's genuinely helping her with essentials like food. Despite her gratitude, she still feels uneasy and bad about the situation, sensing something troubling in her mind as Koininichin calls her name. The young girl beams with joy, declaring the meal delicious and thanking the cook warmly. The cook modestly brushes it off, but the girl insists she needs to do something in return. Suddenly, a cheerful shout announces curry being brought over, prompting an excited response. Yet, the girl doubts she'll be able to help much, resigned to the reality. In a cozy room filled with books and a window showing a perched owl, a young man named Soul is welcomed back. He asks how things have been, but the small magical girl beside him collapses dramatically, calling out for her master. Soul studies a digital map showing multiple dungeon locations increasing over the past 2 weeks. He notes the rising number despite their few count. Worrying his own home might soon become a dungeon. The magical girl munches happily on snacks, while Soul explains his need to conquer dungeons, though he has other preparations to make first. He instructs the magical girl to watch over the house and report any changes, promising to check on her if he's out too long. She responds cheerfully, calling him master and expressing her readiness. Soul confidently affirms that nothing will go wrong as long as he has his shop skill, ready to face whatever comes. A young woman nervously offers curry she made to Soul, asking if he wants to eat. She urges him to keep watch over the house. Determined to prove she can handle it, Soul's expression tightens, realizing she's caught him off guard. The woman's anxious thoughts spiral as she repeats her offer, trying to convince herself she can do this. Soul looks up as she approaches the stairs, quietly acknowledging her. She hesitantly asks if he's going somewhere, but he bluntly replies it has nothing to do with her. Her face flushes with concern as she warns him to be careful. Watching him leave, the door closes behind her with a soft thud, leaving her alone. Night falls over the quiet neighborhood. Soul scans the area through a scope, focusing on a house. He notes 4 monsters gathered there, deeming the situation perfect for his plans. A close-up reveals one of the monsters, its single eye glaring. Soul holds a glowing object, preparing to use it. The monster notices the object and reacts with surprise. Soul stands firm as the monster approaches, the tension rising between them. Soul stands silently before a large, menacing monster with a single glaring eye. He observes it carefully, confirming his suspicions with a sharp, focused gaze. He analyzes the situation, concluding the monster's goal is to massacre. He notes the monsters only hunt within the dungeon's boundaries and never venture beyond, restricting their attacks to that area. Despite this, he acknowledges there are still unknown factors to verify. The monster lunges at Soul, who braces himself and prepares to counter. Their confrontation escalates instantly as Soul dodges and readies for a fight, eyes locked on the creature's single eye. Soul strikes fiercely, delivering a powerful blow that sends the monster reeling. He follows up with a swift, precise attack, gripping a glowing object tightly as he aims to finish the fight decisively. The monster collapses onto the stone path, startled by an unseen force. It scrambles to recover, but a swift figure approaches silently. Soul leaps into action, wielding his sword with precision, noting that the monster's torsos aren't very hard. Soul steadies himself, readying for the next move with determination. He declares it's time to conquer the dungeon, signaling the start of his mission with confidence as he grips his sword tightly and prepares to strike again. A small girl sits on the stairs, quietly warned by a shadowed figure not to talk to Totoki. She apologizes, confessing she's starving, and a woman offers her curry, inviting her to chat while she eats. The girl clings tightly, overwhelmed but comforted. Under the moonlight, a young man surveys a house through a scope. Noting he has already killed 2 monsters in the garden, he counts 2 monsters and 1 core remaining. Deducing the core must be some kind of item. He imagines a treasure chest, hoping to uncover how to clear dungeons and understand their structure, resolving to clean up the area first. He believes this knowledge might protect his own home from becoming a dungeon. He steps forward, determined. Inside a damaged house, he scans the first floor for the last monster. The room is in disarray, with overturned furniture and dark stains. He listens carefully but cannot detect the monster's presence. His gaze sharp as he searches the kitchen and surrounding space. He spots a slime in the sink and wonders if it really is a slime. Curious, he pokes it and notices a core inside the creature. Recalling a manga called Dungeon Food, he plans to stab the core to kill it. Moving through the house, he confirms only 1 monster remains, likely on the 2nd floor. The room is messy, but he prepares to search upstairs. Upstairs, he finds nothing at first, but then spots another slime. Using binoculars, he locates a core attached to the ceiling and realizes this must be the monster's core. The core is a strange, multi-eyed orb hanging from the ceiling. He reacts with shock and determination as the core's presence becomes undeniable. Pain shoots through him as he cries out, clutching his arm, confused and alarmed. He demands to know what is happening while staring at his injured arm. A strange, black tentacle-like appendage slithers away from his grasp, leaving him bewildered and sweating. He turns to face the source, revealing a grotesque creature with long, black tentacles supporting a white, fleshy mass above. The eerie core hangs menacingly, its presence overwhelming. Suddenly, a monstrous eye opens wide beneath the mass, intensifying the threat. The creature lashes out, tearing a piece of the white flesh apart. Panic floods him as he realizes the danger is escalating. He struggles under the assault, sweat and fear mixing as he admits he might die if this continues. Desperately, he swings his blade but misses, the weapon shattering on impact. The tentacle pierces him again, proving his attacks ineffective. His mind races, searching for a solution while the creature advances. Its eye fixed on him with relentless intent. He fixates on the core inside the creature, realizing that breaking it is his only chance, clenching his weapon tightly. He steels himself for an all-or-nothing strike. With a fierce resolve, he lunges forward, aiming to shatter the core. The blade slices through the air, detaching from his hand and flying toward the core. The creature's eye watches intently as the weapon spins away, the core glowing ominously. The tension mounts as the core hangs in the balance, and the man pants heavily, blood dripping from his mouth. The detached blade hurtles through the room, narrowly missing a smaller floating eye-like entity. He declares that this creature was never his true target. A close-up reveals the blade's stats and price, emphasizing its power to cause corrosion on wounds. The core begins to erupt in a dark, smoky reaction. The core starts to dissolve into pixelated fragments, the creature's form breaking apart. He laughs triumphantly, declaring his strike hit right on target as the creature disintegrates before him. He collapses to his knees, exhaustion overwhelming him. The dark, ominous core shudders violently as it begins to break apart. Desperately, he summons a healing potion. Knowing this isn't the time to worry about the cost, blood drips from his mouth as he struggles to stay conscious, feeling a chilling cold seep through him. He drinks the potion, watching it instantly heal his wound. Realizing this is the effect of a B-rank potion, he notes it only healed the wound but didn't restore his lost blood. His body weakens further, sleepiness creeping in as he collapses face down on the floor, utterly drained. Panic grips two girls as they sense something has gone terribly wrong with their master, Bauchikuin. One insists she must go find him immediately, fear and urgency tightening their voices. They call out his name together, desperation mounting as they prepare to act. The girls rush through the streets, their frantic cries echoing as they spot Bauchikuin collapsed and gravely injured. Shock and horror overwhelm them, their screams filling the air as they reach his side. One girl clutches him tightly, tears streaming, while the other cries out in anguish. Both girls struggle to hold back tears, their faces streaked with sweat and fear as they support Bauchikuin's weight. The younger girl sobs uncontrollably, raising her hands in despair, while the older girl fights to stay strong. Bauchikuin gasps for breath, his eyes fluttering weakly, the tension thick in the air. Bauchikuin awakens in a familiar room, the ceiling above comforting in its normalcy. His loyal companion, a small owl-like creature, lies beside him, tears glistening in its eyes. He gently pets the creature, relief softening his expression. Despite the warmth, he snaps at Totoki with a mix of gratitude and irritation, acknowledging her role in saving him. A woman lies exhausted on a couch, sweat beading on her face as she murmurs that she didn't mean to. A young man watches her quietly from the doorway before turning off the light and leaving the room. Armed soldiers take their positions, rifles aimed and ready. The scene shifts to a grand government building surrounded by military vehicles and troops. The operation to recapture the Parliament House is underway today, with monstrous creatures looming ominously nearby. A televised emergency press conference is underway, the Prime Minister announcing that investigations confirm these dangerous creatures only appear and act inside buildings. The Japanese Self-Defense Force has been dispatched to assist in search and rescue efforts. Evacuation centers are being established and supplied with disaster equipment as the government braces for the crisis. Meanwhile, a woman questions why another is sleeping here, expressing concern amid the chaos. News reports flood in, detailing the global spread of mysterious creatures and the staggering death toll exceeding 1.5 million worldwide. Military warnings about terrorism and creature appearances dominate headlines. Online comments speculate about the situation's severity, while the young man sits alone at his desk, absorbed in the overwhelming flood of information. Soldiers open fire on the monstrous creatures, but their bullets seem ineffective. One soldier orders the others to prepare for a different tactic. The creatures remain unfazed as the soldiers ready a cannon. The command is given to fire, unleashing a powerful blast that strikes the creatures and sends them flying. A tank fires its main cannon, the explosion echoing loudly. A news broadcast interrupts, announcing the Japanese Self-Defense Forces operation to reclaim the Parliament House from the dangerous creatures. A young girl clings to an older girl on a couch, hearing that this is the first time live ammunition has been used inside a city since the war. The cityscape stretches out, showing the scale of the crisis. A monstrous creature roars fiercely, lightning crackling behind it. emphasizing its terrifying presence. Online social media feeds flood with posts about the increasing number of dungeons and monsters, with users expressing shock and concern. A young man sits alone in a dimly lit room, scrolling through the overwhelming flood of information and online reactions, his face tense and troubled. A woman screams in terror as a news broadcast warns about dangerous creatures attacking. A young girl clings tightly to the woman on a couch. Both startled. Outside, towering buildings loom as explosions erupt nearby. Shaking the city, static floods the television screen, signaling a loss of signal. A sudden scream pierces a quiet room, drawing immediate attention. A young man and woman exchange alarmed looks as the source of the noise is traced to a house across the street. The man rises, his expression serious. While the woman prepares to call the police, he notices a dark, ominous stain on the floor, heightening the tension. The young man pulls on a jacket, warning the woman not to do anything reckless. She questions his sudden movement, concern evident. He explains that monsters don't leave buildings, so it's safer outside, but she remains worried about the ongoing threat and her unresponsive friends. His calm demeanor contrasts with her growing fear. The woman voices that fear is a natural response to the current danger, especially for someone going outside now. She pleads with him not to end up hurt or covered in blood again like before. The man internally panics, realizing he revealed more than intended, while she looks on with a mix of hope and worry. A young man declares he has something important to do. To ensure their survival, a woman questions if that's all, but he insists he has no time to worry about others. The woman hesitates, asking if he means we, and he confirms with a firm yeah, addressing Totoki. He tells her to stay put and be quiet, promising he'll return soon. The woman listens intently as he prepares to leave. The woman reflects quietly, noting he never told her to stay before. Meanwhile, the cityscape stretches out below, emphasizing the gravity of the moment. Outside, the young man walks alone through a parking area, unaware that a group of men watch him from a distance. They whisper among themselves, mocking him as a creep for muttering to himself, clearly marking him as a target. He questions if those scumbags are still alive. Usaka, grinning arrogantly, retorts that the world has changed and no one will care if another corpse appears in some monster's house. He reminds him that he's always been annoying, standing confidently with his two companions. A group blocks the young man's path, demanding answers with a threatening glare. One steps forward, snarling that he'll kill him if he doesn't explain what he was doing earlier. The young man realizes they've been following him, having seen his actions after leaving his house. Memories flash back to his solitary walk, calling out desperately for his master. Voices call to him from above, confirming his location. The young man admires a package labeled telepathy dumplings, explaining they allow telepathic communication within a 10 kilometers radius. He marvels at how they enable talking even when far apart, while his owl companion soars high above the cityscape. The young man praises the shop for its incredible goods but admits the dumplings have a critical weak point. His owl nods in agreement. Nearby, a girl asks if he needs a way to make money, prompting him to ask what she means. The young man explains that his fighting power depends on money. The more he has, the stronger he becomes. He inherited 10 million yen from his mother but still can't afford high-grade items. When asked how he'll earn more, he reveals he'll use drop items. He clarifies that drop items automatically appear in his box after clearing dungeons and are likely rewards. The girl excitedly summarizes that he'll make money by clearing dungeons, praising his smart plan. He plans to sell the drop items in the shop, but she questions how many potato chips he can buy with just 5 points, leaving him uncertain. He demonstrates how it gets easier once he obtains a strong weapon, smashing a dark orb. The girl reacts in awe as he shows her a dungeon core on a screen, explaining that one core alone is worth 1 million points. The girl realizes that 1 million points translate to millions of chips. The young man urges to keep going, planning to use a dungeon detection map while the owl companion observes from the sky. He intends to clear nearby dungeons, stepping out into the city streets to continue his quest. From above, a group watches a man muttering to himself, calling him a creep. The man tells his owl companion's soul to wait, saying there's no point in fighting honestly with these people. When asked if he knows the man, he grimly replies that the man is human scum. A wild-looking man mocks the man, pretending not to hear him and questioning where his confidence went. He reveals they caught the man sneaking into and out of people's houses. Calling him a fool, the man clenches his teeth, calling the other a bastard. The wild man grins menacingly, asking if the man is searching for dungeon cores. The man thinks about how much the wild man knows, while the wild man laughs and calls them scumbags. The man cracks his knuckles, ready to fight, saying he's been wanting to punch that annoying face. The wild man threatens to kill him but agrees to let him beg for his life first. Another figure says they'll get the dungeon core after that. A hooded figure orders a large man to capture their target, and the man acknowledges the command. Suddenly, a heavy impact hits the ground nearby, cracking the pavement. The target's eyes widen in shock as the threat approaches. The large man leaps into the air with a powerful punch aimed at the target below. The target looks up just in time, while the attacker grins confidently beneath his sunglasses. A smaller figure shouts out in alarm, calling the attacker master. The target narrowly dodges a massive strike that shatters the ground and walls around him. He notices the attacker's hand has grown disproportionately large. The attacker smirks and admits he missed, taunting the target as debris flies everywhere. The target narrowly dodges a massive punch that shatters the ground. Noticing the attacker's hand has grown disproportionately large, he wonders in shock if the attacker's hand actually got bigger as the attack looms closer. The target calmly forms a hand seal, then forcefully crushes the attacker's oversized hand with a powerful grip. A flash of light reveals an item called the Perfect Ring, priced at 300,000, as the target prepares to counterattack. The attacker lunges again with his giant hand, but the target swiftly evades, landing a solid punch. The attacker grimaces in pain while a hooded figure watches silently nearby. The target's feet seem to melt into the ground as he moves with incredible speed. Surprising the attacker commands a large man to catch him, but the target's swift movements keep him out of reach, forcing the pursuers to scramble. The young man clenches his fist, determined to land a hit despite the odds. He admits to himself that it won't be easy. A sneering opponent notices his intense gaze and demands to know what's wrong with his eyes. The young man silently decides to change tactics. The opponent orders his men not to lose sight of the young man. They respond quickly, chasing after him down a narrow street. The young man moves stealthily, preparing for what's next. A menacing figure's eye peers through a shadowy mask, ready to strike. The young man leaps and dodges attacks with swift agility, evading the enemy's blows. A series of messages appear, revealing the enemy's coordinated efforts to track and trap him from all directions. The shadowy figure stands surrounded by ominous, floating eyes, signaling a powerful surveillance or ability. The young man commands a small owl-like creature named Soul to scout ahead and report enemy positions. Soul acknowledges and asks for time to gather information. The young man notes the enemy has already surrounded the area, making escape difficult. He remarks that the opposition is more troublesome than expected but remains confident despite the encirclement. A masked figure commands his men to prevent the young man from escaping to the warehouse. The young man, on a call, reacts with surprise but quickly orders his pursuers not to lose sight of him. Inside the warehouse, he locates something valuable and notes its high price. The young man confirms the price of 1.5 million points, acknowledging the expense but accepting he has no choice. Suddenly, gunfire erupts as an armed man appears. Mocking the young man for hiding there, the young man retorts, calling his opponent a fool for coming all this way just to get beaten. The armed man threatens with a real gun, insulting the young man as a creepy nerd. The young man calmly tells him to stop staring and points out he's not ready to shoot a real person yet. He smirks confidently, proving his point. The armed man fires a warning shot, shouting for the young man to be scared. The young man dashes forward, shouting for the other to hide. Gunfire intensifies as he charges, dodging shots and closing the distance. The armed man screams in frustration, fixating on the young man's eyes. But the young man presses on with a determined punch, refusing to back down. The armed man screams for the young man to listen as he lunges forward. But the young man lands a powerful punch to his face, sending him reeling backward. Both catch their breath, the attacker spitting blood in shock. The attacker sits on the floor, clutching his face, while the young man lies motionless nearby. Outside, a group of men watch and laugh cruelly, mocking the fallen attacker. The attacker bursts into maniacal laughter, then suddenly charges back into the warehouse, his crazed energy filling the space. Meanwhile, the young man crouches calmly beside an advertisement for a 1.5 million point copy doll decoy, smiling wryly as his owl companion praises him. He admits he must be considered dead, but reasons no one would search for a corpse. Confident, he declares they've finally caught their target and suggests leaving immediately. An old story begins with a question about whether the boy and Koine-nichin get along. Answered simply, there's no reason, that's just how it is. A young girl calls out to Hirokuen, who turns in response with a curious question mark. Hirokuen is asked what he is reading. He replies, Nietzsche. A girl in a yukata invites him to the festival, but he remains indifferent, responding only with, friends call out to him repeatedly, but he stays unresponsive. Photographs of a group, including Hirokuen and a smiling girl, are shown. The scene shifts to the Totoki family vigil ceremonial hall, where a somber atmosphere contrasts with the earlier moments. A quiet, Empty ceremonial hall is prepared with rows of chairs facing a floral altar adorned with a teddy bear and a hat on separate chairs. From behind, a girl softly calls out to Hirokuen, who turns slightly in response with a simple acknowledgement. 3 people sit solemnly, one covering her face in tears while another holds a baby, comforted by a standing figure. The crying girl insists she shouldn't cry anymore because she's a big sister now. But the man beside Hirokuen admits he can't help but feel the same. Hirokuen quietly responds with a calm acknowledgement. The scene shifts to a school building and a cheerful girl inviting others to karaoke, mentioning she'll ask Hirokuen and Bouchikuen to join. Other girls whisper doubts about Buchi from class 3, reminding Koine that they're in middle school now and suggesting he might want to hang out with other boys. Koine looks surprised as she arrives late to classroom 2 to 3, apologizing to Hirokuen, who sits casually at his desk, responding with a quiet acknowledgement. Walking side by side on a bridge, a girl asks Hirokuen if he hangs out with other boys. He responds with a quiet, and then explains he's going to visit his mother today. The girl immediately insists she will come with him. The scene shifts to a solemn urn placed on a table, then to Hirokuen sitting alone on a couch, holding a framed photo. Inside a quiet room, the girl enters and sits beside Hirokuen. He asks why she is crying, but she admits she doesn't know. Their silence fills the room as they sit together. Hirokuen confesses he doesn't understand his feelings either, unsure if it's remorse or sadness. He only knows the pain is so intense it makes breathing difficult. The girl leans on his shoulder, sharing the heavy sorrow in silence. Hirokuen asks his mother how old she is now, and she playfully replies that it's a secret. She thanks him and the other person for visiting. Later, a girl rings the doorbell at a house and calls out for Hirokuen. A flashback shows a young Hirokuen angrily grabbing a man by the collar, shouting that their mother is dead because of him and accusing him of abandoning them. The girl watches from the doorway as he screams for the man to say something, demanding he talk. Back in the present, the girl confronts Hirokuen, worried because he hasn't been coming to school. She asks why he is crying, but he only repeats the question with more urgency. She stammers an apology, unable to explain her tears. At school, students gossip about Hirokuen, noting he got into a fight with upperclassmen at the entrance ceremony and was suspended on the first day. The girl listens quietly as they describe him as scary, especially since he's from their class, while a loud voice demands someone to leave. A girl invites Hirokuen to walk home together. She asks about his father, but he coldly replies that he doesn't care. She holds a note labeled, "Suicide Note," silently observing him. Sitting side by side, she asks why he is crying, expressing how sad she feels for him. He remains distant, staring ahead as she reaches out to him. He suddenly grabs her wrist, demanding to know what she's trying to do. She admits she's been worried about him, but he angrily tells her not to call him Hirokuen. He insists he can survive alone and rejects her pity. The girl, shocked and tearful, tells him to leave and not to talk to her at school either. She turns away quietly, while he sits alone, lost in thought as other students pass by. A figure hangs upside down, while a chaotic crowd rushes forward in panic. A boy clutches a phone, whispering the name Bouchikuen with wide eyes. Nearby, 2 boys lie on the floor, one holding the other protectively. A girl, tears streaming, breathes a sigh of relief. She leans forward, overwhelmed with emotion. A young man reassures a girl and a little child, telling them they are safe here. Suddenly, he braces himself as the girl screams and leaps onto his back. Sweat beads on her face as she struggles, while he grimaces, determined. Inside a quiet laundry room, a girl hands folded clothes to a boy, urging him to bring them to Buchi. She hesitates, but is told firmly to just go. The boy accepts the task with a simple thanks, while the girl watches him leave, a thoughtful expression on her face. The girl, holding her fists nervously, asks the boy if he and Koine-nichin do not get along. Both exchange surprised, uncertain looks, the question hanging heavily between them. The boy confirms with a simple yeah, prompting the girl to respond with wide-eyed surprise, asking really? And in disbelief. A monstrous creature lets out a terrifying roar, drawing the attention of armed men who cautiously peek from doorways down a long hallway strewn with debris. A gloved hand opens, then clenches into a fist, signaling readiness. Suddenly, the men launch themselves forward in a coordinated attack, crashing down on the creature together. Voices shout success and confirm the floor is secured, but urgency rises as a soldier warns that the creatures are returning. The cityscape reveals the scale of devastation. Over 15,000 dead and hundreds of thousands missing. The narrator reflects on 2 months of chaos and mounting destruction. A newspaper headline highlights a volunteer vigilante group called the Apostles of Peace. A large building displays an announcement of a scheduled power outage. Inside a shelter, several creatures rest among scattered supplies. The narration explains that with the outdoors now safer, millions have evacuated the capital, and many homeless victims live outside. A young woman reads from a tablet while a girl and a toddler sit nearby. The toddler asks if they can go back home or stop staying inside, causing the woman to hesitate, troubled. Suddenly, a voice calls out, grabbing the toddler's attention, signaling someone has arrived. A young man enters carrying bags and says he bought some stuff. A girl asks what it is, and he reveals pudding. She eagerly reaches out as he offers it to her. He tells them to let him know if they need anything else before leaving. The girl marvels at the amount of supplies. Looking at a bag filled with groceries, a screen shows a purchase history with a large balance remaining. The young man explains that with his skill, no one can beat him, but that applies only to low-rank dungeons. He mentions the possibility of higher-rank dungeons and the need for money to buy a better weapon. A small girl excitedly cheers about going to get another dungeon core. He admits they can't do that right now because he is supposed to be dead. The girl questions why, and he explains that collecting cores and standing out would make pretending to be dead pointless. She looks troubled, realizing the difficulty of their situation. The girl cries out, insisting there's no need for him to hide because he's so strong. She calls him master with fierce emotion. He remains calm, smiling slightly as she struggles with tears, then gently pats her head, explaining he didn't pretend to die because he couldn't win. He clarifies he never said he would hide either and reveals a metamorphosis potion on a screen, saying he plans to make them find him. He then tells Soul it's time to stand out as much as possible, shocking the girl with wide eyes and a stunned expression. Meanwhile, in a deserted urban area, two men rummage through discarded items, hoping to find something valuable. Suddenly, one shouts a warning as a monstrous creature with a single eye emerges from the shadows. The other man is grabbed, and the first yells for him to run. A woman with long flowing hair and a sword leaps into action, slashing through the monstrous creatures attacking the men. One of the men watches in shock as she fiercely fights off the attackers, her hair and sword cutting through the chaos with precision. A woman dressed in a flowing kimono with a floral pattern and long hair tied with a bow draws her sword gracefully, asking if the man before her is injured. The man, sitting on the ground and startled, denies being hurt, stammering his thanks. The woman smiles warmly, reassuring him that she's just glad he's safe, while a caption reveals he bought a metamorphosis potion, implying this girl is actually Hero. A man examines a metamorphosis potion priced at 362,800 points, holding the small vial carefully. As he clenches his fist, a powerful energy surges around him, signaling the start of a transformation. The man's body begins to glow and shift, ribbons of light swirling around him as he undergoes a dramatic metamorphosis. His eyes focus intently, witnessing the change unfold with awe and determination. A woman in a traditional outfit, Torikato Shina, asks how she looks, seeking approval from Soul. The small girl beside Soul gushes over her beauty, calling her master with starry eyes. Torikato Shina introduces herself confidently, declaring that she conquers dungeons, while the girl tries to coach her on smiling more naturally. A crowd gathers outside a building as someone shouts for help, claiming a child is trapped inside. Torikato Shina steps forward, telling the crowd to move aside. She confronts a man demanding to know who she is, then presents her business card, reaffirming her name and her mission to conquer dungeons with a warm, confident smile. A sudden crash shatters the calm as a door is forcefully kicked open. Inside, a frightened child covers her mouth, tears streaming down her face. A kind woman offers candy gently, urging the child to come along since her mother is waiting. The child, still trembling, accepts the candy and waves a grateful farewell to the woman, who smiles warmly, relieved that the child is safe. Outside, a crowd watches as the woman carries the rescued child away. The woman steps forward, addressing the crowd with a commanding presence. She asks if anyone else has had their house dungeonized, prompting several people to nervously raise their hands. Each time, she confidently assures them, "Please leave it to me." As she brandishes her katana with swift, precise movements, business cards flutter down as she promises to handle every affected home, her smile unwavering despite the growing tension. The crowd erupts in cheers, rallying behind her declaration that all dungeon clearing will be handled by Torikato Shina. News articles on smartphones buzz about her rising fame as a mysterious, beautiful woman conquering dungeons. People gather, reading headlines that call her a real hero. Surveillance cameras labeled Dungeon Core monitor the area, underscoring the seriousness of the situation. A playground structure looms nearby, hinting at the community's vulnerability. In a nearby park, A rugged man questions the concept of a dungeon-clearing contractor, curious if she might join their group. Others confirm she works alone and offers her services for free. Rumors swirl about her use of a katana, sparking debate over its legality. Despite concerns, many agree that if she's helping people, her presence is welcome. The man pulls out a wallet, signaling his approval as the group contemplates the mysterious woman's impact. A group begins to move forward as someone says they should get going too. The scene shifts to a sprawling estate with many tents set up. A man points to a map, explaining the area as 500 tsubos, and a woman admires the fine estate. The man asks when the payment can be arranged, and the woman demands 10 million. The man reacts with surprise. The group starts walking away, repeating the decision to get going. The wide view of the estate and tents remains. The man points again to the 500 tsubos on the map, calling it a fine estate. The woman smiles and insists on arranging 10 million for her payment, leaving the man stunned. The man questions why she thought the work would be free, but the woman asks him to understand. She admits she's lying and explains that clearing such a large area will take much more work. She reveals she's become famous enough that wealthy people will pay her to reclaim their houses, and she'll take money from them while collecting cores. The man, overwhelmed, wonders if she asked for too much. Another person urges to give her the money. An older man in a lab coat apologizes for not meeting personally due to an emergency and introduces himself as Fukuzawa Jutra, the one who made the request. He explains his clinic was invaded and points to a map. Around them, many people receive medical care in a tent, highlighting the desperate situation amid the panic. The older man insists compensation won't be an issue and demands his clinic back no matter what. The woman introduces herself as Torikato Shina and confidently asks to handle the dungeon clearing. Outside, the Fukuzawa clinic stands abandoned, while strange creatures lurk nearby, a sword drawn in readiness. Torikato Shina leaps into action, slicing through the monstrous creatures with swift, precise strikes. She pauses briefly, holding a framed photo and smiling to herself, thinking she can still earn more money. She accepts a large payment of 10 million with a smile, acknowledging the wealth behind the offer. When asked if she's sure, she offers to arrange supplies as well. The older man then inquires if she has a daughter, prompting a subtle reaction. Torikato Shina's expression sharpens as she uses her skillful mind, suggesting the possibility of leaving the daughter with her. The woman being addressed looks uncertain, while Shina's confident gaze lingers on the offer. Names are called out as attendance is taken. Nanamura-san, Himura-kun, and Fukuzawa-san all respond with here. The classroom is shown with students settling in, focusing on a girl named Kana in a wheelchair. The teacher tells Kana that since today is PE class, he will push her wheelchair. The other students react, debating whether boys should be allowed to push Kana, with some saying, "No boys allowed," and others offering to protect her. Kana smiles gratefully, thanking everyone for always helping her. In a spacious, modern room, a serious conversation unfolds between an older man and a woman. He states two conditions. She must not be told she won't recover, nor that she will recover. The woman asks about the second condition, but dismisses the point as irrelevant. The man insists on confirming these terms again. A man with a bird perched on his finger declares that if he succeeds, his reward will be 100 million yen. The woman, smiling brightly, reminds him not to forget this promise. Suddenly, someone calls out, "Father," with urgency. A man introduces a woman as his wife and the girl in the wheelchair as their daughter, Kana. Kana turns toward the man and asks if the tall man in a white coat is the new doctor. The woman with long hair and a large bow steps forward, smiling warmly, and introduces herself as Torikato Shina. Asking to be called Shina, Kana recognizes the name immediately. Kana eagerly asks if Shina is the person who saved the clinic and their home. She mentions seeing Shina on the internet and compliments her cuteness. Shina thanks her, but Kana then questions why she has come here. Shina begins to explain that she is here to help and examine Kana. She admits to having some pharmaceutical knowledge and claims to possess a special technique. Kana happily accepts her as the new doctor. Shina leads the way to begin the examination. In a clinical room, Shina struggles to understand Kana's medical records. She pulls out a device called the observation glass, explaining it as a special examination tool. Kana watches as Shina uses the device on her, determined to cure her and earn her reward, ready to say farewell to this place. Shina struggles to understand Kana's clinical records, pulling out the observation glass, a special examination device. When asked what it is, she cheerfully explains its purpose. Determined, she kneels by Kana's wheelchair, vowing to cure her and claim her reward, ready to say farewell to this place. Through the observation glass, Shina diagnoses acquired hemiplegia, suspecting a spinal cord injury as the cause. She recalls the doctor's words. One condition is to tell Kana she won't recover. The other is to withhold hope, Something about this diagnosis feels strange, and she senses Kanna's watchful eyes on her. Kanna looks at Sheena with wide eyes, the weight of the diagnosis sinking in. Sheena reveals she has a brother and sister who are both doctors working overseas. The atmosphere is heavy but calm as Sheena processes the situation and Kanna absorbs the news. She expresses feeling at ease with Sheena, as if her sister is present. The older man and woman confirm her siblings are in good health, despite the examination ending. Kanna senses a strange feeling she can't explain. Sheena smiles gently, but the unease lingers as the scene closes. The older man cautiously asks about the results, insisting on knowing about his daughter's legs. The woman firmly requests privacy, asking them to leave the room. The man protests, wanting his wife and daughter to hear the truth. The woman smiles coldly, declaring the legs aren't going to heal, leaving the man shocked and speechless. The woman explains the condition as acquired hemiplegia, caused by a spinal cord injury. Impossible to cure in theory, confirming there's no chance of recovery. The man glares in anger, but she interrupts, confidently claiming she can cure the daughter and make her walk again immediately. The parents react with stunned silence and disbelief. She reveals a small ornate bottle, calling it a mini elixir, promising that if the daughter drinks it, she will walk today. The man and woman listen as she guarantees the cure with 100% certainty. She explains the medicine heals all injuries and is expensive, but she will profit from the 100 million yen payment. She offers to accept payment only after the daughter fully recovers. Smiling as she questions if the man will refuse, the man remains silent, troubled by the offer. The man contemplates quietly, weighed down by doubt. A bird nearby asks if the daughter will really recover. The man questions the possibility aloud, while the woman reassures him with a smile, admitting she might have been overthinking it. The daughter resolves to just heal her, but the man remains focused on the money, determined to get his 100 million yen. A fierce glare hardens her face as she clenches her teeth, the word die escaping her lips with venom. Another woman watches silently, her expression unreadable, while a third smiles gently, offering no words. The scene shifts to a tense confrontation where a young woman kneels, pleading with an older man to leave her alone with Shina-sama. Despite his protests, she insists firmly, and the man reluctantly steps back, alone in a quiet room. The woman questions if money is truly all he cares about, her knowing smile revealing she recognizes the true nature of the situation. The injured woman slumps, admitting this strange feeling was caused by the doctor before her, accusing all doctors of being the same. She adds that men are easy to manipulate, though she herself is a man, dismissing the other's concern with a cold smile. The woman demands no one interfere with her revenge, her eyes blazing with fury. When asked about revenge, she offers to explain but only if the other is curious, then mockingly tells them to disappear, calling them annoying. The tension thickens, something hidden behind her smile. She declares she doesn't want her legs to heal, insisting it's her revenge to make her terrible father suffer. The other woman smiles warmly, calling that wonderful, then claps her hands together. The injured woman snaps at her to shut up and leave, but the other refuses, saying she can't do that because she needs the money. She promises to definitely cure the legs, smiling brightly despite the harsh words. The injured woman angrily demands if money is all she cares about and tells her to go away, but the other calmly replies, "Right. Well then, miss." The woman proposes a deal, offering to grant anything the injured woman wishes for if she lets her cure her legs. The injured woman questions the deal, and the other insists she wants to cure her legs. Then, with a sly smile, she commands her to get naked. The injured woman looks shocked and suspicious. The other woman laughs, calling her quite the fool, and says she can do that right away. She encourages her to come on, but then adds, "However." The injured woman shouts in surprise, clearly unsettled by what might come next. She offers to carry out the injured woman's revenge in exchange for curing her legs, demanding to know why and how she wants it done. The injured woman reacts with shock, but the other insists she can do anything once she understands the details. The injured woman angrily refuses to talk, calling it nonsense and daring her to act without revealing anything. The other woman calmly accepts the challenge and commands her to go to the shop. The other woman reveals her power, showing a magical item called the Key of Dreams priced at 600,000 points. She demands the injured woman to show her what she wants, summoning a glowing magical circle around her. An older man lectures that the strong build their castles on the weak, explaining that true rulers prosper by distributing wealth and supporting those beneath them. A young girl listens attentively as the lesson unfolds. A woman with a long ponytail watches a family scene unfold in a room below. She recognizes it as the girl's past. The girl, standing barefoot and looking down, feels strange as she senses her legs again. The woman admits she can only observe and not intervene. The girl touches her legs, overwhelmed by the sensation. The scene repeats with the same woman observing the family below, confirming this is the girl's past. The girl reflects on the weird feeling of having legs again and accepts she can only watch without interfering. Her gaze lingers on her legs, filled with disbelief. A man with a stern expression lectures a young girl about human inequality, declaring that the Fukuzawa family stands at the top. He insists that true rulers dominate others by treading on those beneath them, soaring above everyone else. The girl responds enthusiastically, affirming her loyalty with a bright smile. Memories flash to a school event where children cheer and applaud. A girl named Kanna is praised for her achievement. Winning first place in a race, she proudly announces her victory to her father, who simply replies, "Good." She beams happily, affirming her obedience and pride in her father's approval. A hand gestures toward a display case filled with trophies and awards, demanding if the other person can do any of those things now. The girl with a large bow on her head turns sharply in surprise. The other calmly replies that none of that is possible anymore. Suddenly, the girl screams as she is thrown into a pit, while the one with the long ponytail announces it's time for the next one. Rain pours down as a car drives through the night. Inside, two girls sit quietly. One laughs softly. The girl with the bow insists nothing happens in this memory and suggests moving on. The other, smiling gently, says she isn't controlling this and wonders if the other wants to see it. Inside a car, a tense conversation unfolds. The girl with the bow shouts in disbelief that she didn't hear about something, while an older man on the phone tells her to handle it herself. The girl screams for her father, panic and fear flooding her face. A rainy street shows a crashed truck and car. A girl in a wheelchair watches silently. A man angrily accuses a woman that Kanna's legs are gone because of her. The woman retorts sharply to shut up and leave. Three girls vow to protect Kanna, who quietly thanks them for always helping her. A girl in a wheelchair addresses her father, explaining she can no longer play the piano or swim, but insists she can still play the violin, attend cram school, and speak English. She calls out to him softly, trying to reassure. The father abruptly cuts her off with a cold enough. Confused, she asks what he means, but he accuses her, blaming her for everything. She questions his harshness, seeking clarity. The girl lashes out, tears streaming, blaming him for her pain, her legs, and everything she lost. She screams that he made her this way, her anguish pouring out as she collapses, overwhelmed by sorrow. The woman sitting across from her coldly dismisses her story, calling her a brat. Shocked, the girl protests, but the woman accuses her of playing the victim, pretending to be a tragic heroine for sympathy. A determined woman declares she will teach the other the right way to fight, her confident smile challenging the tense atmosphere. The other woman, clenching her fists and gritting her teeth, braces herself for what's to come, her expression fierce and resolute. A girl demands to be taught the right way to fight, her expression fierce. Another girl warns her not to speak like that. The first girl lashes out, shouting in pain when flicked on the forehead. A third girl watches amused, asking if it makes her angry. The girl with the ponytail challenges her to hit her if she's angry. Smirking confidently, the other girl tries but only swings air as the first keeps moving away. She yells that it won't work because she keeps dodging, while the confident girl smiles and says not quite. The confident girl explains that the reason revenge is difficult is because the other can't walk, so she can't hit back. She suggests healing her legs to make revenge simple. The girl with the ponytail angrily demands who she is to say such things, accusing her of not understanding. The confident girl recalls her mother dying from illness when she was about the same age. She remembers holding her mother's hand as she was near death, her mother unable to see or hear, struggling even to breathe, but it felt like she was squeezing back. The girl reflects on her father, who was always a certain way, while a medical monitor beeps steadily. The man clenches his fists, tears streaming down his face as he demands why. The girl recalls how the man wasn't even present when the mother died. She admits she thought about hitting and even killing him in her rage. Despite her anger, she couldn't bring herself to do it. She explains that the man took everything from her that day, including her despair, and that's why she understands. She urges to keep going and offers to fix the other's legs herself. The girl with the bow angrily denies the story, accusing the other of being motivated only by money. She challenges her to prove it by watching her mother die. The other girl calmly says they will look at her past, holding a key, while the girl protests that means coming with her. The girl with long hair agrees to go along, determined. She holds the key tightly as the scene shifts back to the hospital room. The girl questions if the motivation is truly money, or if there is no real reason or purpose behind it all. The girl with long hair tells the seated girl that if her past self were in front of her now, she would do the same thing without hesitation. She confesses she doesn't seek revenge but only wants to see her mother, though she admits she can't do that. The standing girl promises the seated girl that her legs will heal and things might return to normal once that happens. She adds that the seated girl can punch her in the face as much as she wants. The seated girl, surprised, is told to say if she wants to get better and take revenge. The standing girl, smiling confidently, declares she will grant anything the seated girl wishes for. The seated girl looks up at her in shock and awe. The seated girl stands, her legs beginning to shimmer and pixelate as they heal. She drinks from a bottle while floating slightly above the floor. The wheelchair is pushed aside, and two adults watch the scene with astonishment as the standing girl remains composed. An older man clutches his head in anguish, tears streaming down his face as he breaks down completely. A young woman watches him silently, her expression unreadable. He suddenly collapses to his knees, bowing deeply before her, while another woman kneels beside him, trying to comfort him. The young woman with long hair turns and walks away, but a voice calls out for her to wait, outside a modern building. Another girl grabs her arm, warning that her two-sided nature is too intense. The long-haired woman smiles calmly, saying it's easier for her to be this way. The girl who grabbed her arm questions if she's the only one who knows this side of her. The long-haired woman drinks from a bottle, replying she doesn't know about that but asks to be believed. The other girl smiles warmly, promising to keep her secret and trust her. The girl who grabbed her arm reminds her that she promised to hit her, and she came to do just that. The long-haired woman readies her hand, calling it a perfect ring with high defensive strength. She counts down, warning she'll punch her face and that she should close her eyes, while the other girl nervously asks her to be gentle. A girl with a ponytail suddenly kisses the cheek of a woman in a traditional dress, who looks surprised and speechless. The girl recalls that the woman once said she could make anything come true, reaching out to touch her waist with a smile. The girl boldly tells the woman to go out with her, holding her firmly by the waist. Around them, people pass by a building cordoned off with warning tape, unaware of the intimate moment. Behind the warning tape, a monstrous creature with large claws and a grotesque form begins to emerge from the dark interior, breaking through the barriers as the world's rules seem to start changing. Countless beams of light pierce the night sky, illuminating the land below as they surge upward in a vast, eerie display. The intensity of the lights grows, spreading across the landscape until a cityscape emerges, bathed in a strange glow that fades as the beams recede. A monstrous creature with a grotesque, clawed form strides through a narrow urban street, accompanied by smaller, similarly menacing beasts. Nearby, a toppled utility pole drags wires across the ground, signaling destruction. The massive creature looms over the city skyline, its presence shaking the environment as it moves. Streets become chaotic as cars jam the roads in a desperate attempt to flee. Voices shout frantic commands and warnings, urging drivers to move or abandon their vehicles. Online chatter floods with panic, reporting the monster invasion and the gridlock that traps everyone in danger. A woman in a traditional floral dress and flowing skirt leaps into action, wielding a katana that shatters dark, flying creatures with swift, precise strikes. She notes the dungeons are expanding, confirming the growing threat as she prepares to confront the encroaching monsters. The dungeons have grown from the size of a single house to spanning the equivalent of 30 to 40 houses. Cores of this expanded size appear everywhere now, suggesting the original dungeons have evolved. These evolved cores might fetch higher prices on the market, but the threat they pose is growing. The woman in the traditional dress reflects that the evolution won't stop here. She worries this trend isn't just about profiting from the wealthy, but is making the city unlivable. She prepares to devise a contingency plan as she swiftly moves through the neighborhood. Meanwhile, a young woman named Mahiru listens to emergency broadcasts warning of collapsed buildings and roads, urging calm and quick evacuation. She resolves to do her best, encouraged by a small child who calls her Koine Nichin. They exchange determined words before Mahiru checks her phone, dialing a contact named Kanachan. In a quiet room, a young man sits with a small owl-like creature as he listens to a voicemail filled with nervous, affectionate rambling from a girl. The owl reacts with frustration, accusing the girl of being unfair and irritating. The young man tries to calm the creature, but it insists on mimicking the girl's behavior, causing a lively commotion. The young man, noticing the battered state of Bauchikuin's face, brushes it off as nothing. A woman explains she wanted to prepare evacuation supplies for 3 people, though she admits evacuation is impossible but decides to accept the supplies anyway. Bauchikuin insists on going to check on things despite the danger, telling them to stay put. Suddenly, a hand grabs his wrist firmly, stopping him. The woman, now determined, challenges him to finger wrestling. He hesitates but accepts, and they lock fingers, counting as they begin the contest. She smiles, admitting she knew from the start that she would lose. She asks him to let go, but then confesses she knows what she wants to do now, She acknowledges Bauchikuin's strength, saying he will have an easier time surviving than she would. She reveals that until now, she has only seen Bauchikuin's back. But now she's here. It's not because he's stronger than her, but because she doesn't want to see him retreat. She wants to do her best and become stronger, shaking his hand with resolve. He asks what she's trying to do, but she stammers nervously, unable to answer clearly. He snaps at her, saying nothing will change if she just talks. She winces as he playfully slaps her hand away. He tells her to stay quiet and leaves, while two children cheer her on to do her best. Outside, a bicycle lies fallen in the grass. He suggests going home for the day, but she refuses, determined to keep trying. He warns he'll leave her behind if she won't stop. She cries out, wanting to be able to ride home with him. She asks what he remembers, and he calmly counts the monsters, noting there are 31 small ones. She confirms the number looks about right as she surveys the city from a rooftop, drinking from a bottle. Suddenly, a girl calls out to her from behind. She turns, surprised to see Kana-chan, who claims it's just a coincidence they met because she installed a tracking app when they exchanged contact info. The girl laughs and offers to delete the app, urging Kana-chan to go home since it's dangerous here. Kana-chan reacts with shock, calling it dangerous and refusing to leave so easily. The girl beams with sparkling joy, overwhelmed by the genuine care shown to her. She playfully suggests that Nei-san should stay with them to have some fun. Suddenly, a man's footsteps approach as one of the girls offers to escort her home, warning it's dangerous to stay out alone. The woman in the traditional dress steps protectively in front, telling the man to get back. She and the girl behind her exchange worried glances, suspecting something is off despite no visible core nearby. A rough-looking man smirks arrogantly, announcing they arrived at the dungeon first. He mocks the woman, calling her a dungeon-clearing contractor, while his group stands behind him, blocking the path. A tense standoff unfolds in a grim urban courtyard as a man with a gun threatens anyone hiding, demanding they meet their quota. He violently pushes a crouching figure aside, barking orders to find the core immediately. Two others nearby mock the gunman, calling him a mere order giver, but he silences them with authority. Suddenly, the core is revealed, struggling as it tries to break free. The gunman points his weapon at the captives, warning them to hurry or face death. A masked figure checks a phone, confirming the target's location with a message saying "found it," causing the gunman to react with alarm. On a nearby walkway, a woman with a long ponytail and traditional dress confronts the gunman's group. Noting her reputation precedes her, she states that others are also collecting cores, implying competition. The gunman grins maliciously, proposing a deal to hand over all the cores she has, while a woman beside him asks what he wants in exchange. The gunman lays out two brutal options: surrender all cores or become his woman. He leers, threatening to use her body if she refuses. Laughing cruelly, the woman in traditional attire grimaces in disgust and pain, clearly repulsed but forced to endure his degrading proposition. A girl loudly declares how gross the situation is. Fully agreeing with the sentiment, she defends the woman in traditional dress fiercely, insisting everyone knows how insanely strong she is, capable of wiping out monsters instantly and even healing her legs. She insists the woman will marry her, denying any disbelief. A man with sharp teeth dismisses interest in kids and mockingly offers to hand her over to others. He points at his gun and demands she shoot it already, provoking a shocked reaction. The woman calmly replies that this is only the second time she's had a gun pointed at her. Noting the other person was too scared to fire, she challenges him, asking if he can shoot her, while he grins widely and asks if she thinks he's stupid. The man recalls killing people with the gun and being angered by a defiant look in one victim's eyes. The woman internally calls him a liar and coward. Meanwhile, the man's attitude irritates her, and he threatens to strip her of her clothes and power simultaneously. Another woman commands him to stop and urges the girl to stand down, calling the man creepy all the time. A fierce woman draws her sword with a confident smirk, declaring she usually doesn't cut people. A man with sharp teeth, holding a gun, shrugs and says it can't be helped, ordering his men to ensure she isn't too injured. The man slams his foot down hard, causing a powerful impact. The woman looks up sharply, startled by the force. The woman leaps away, carrying another person as they fall from a height, warning that their pursuers will follow. The man with the gun commands his men to retrieve the core, berating them to stand up despite their injuries. The woman recognizes a familiar foe's lackey approaching and readies herself. The lackey charges at her, surprised she's still alive, while she braces for the attack, determined to face him once more. A man orders not to kill them but to break her legs and force her submission. A determined woman with a ribbon in her hair prepares to strike first. Launching herself forward with a swift attack, the man is caught off guard by her sudden move. The woman wields her sword with precision, while the man sitting on the ground mocks her speed, calling her too slow. He demands she surrender and hand over their cores, but she remains silent, causing him to react with surprise and frustration. The woman's intense gaze unsettles the man, who recognizes something terrifying in her eyes. His expression shifts to shock and disbelief as he recalls past memories. She calmly asks if something is the matter, holding her sword with quiet menace. The man denies knowing what she means, insisting he couldn't have killed someone like her with a gun. She counters with a confident smirk, declaring that makes him a small fry, tightening her grip on the sword as he trembles in fear. A girl struggles, shouting for someone to let her go as a man holds her back. Another figure commands stored items to release, and multiple swords suddenly materialize, flying rapidly toward the attackers. The swords strike with precision, forcing the men to retreat in alarm. The scene shifts to a rooftop where a woman fights alongside Kana-chan. A man with a jagged mask snarls in rage, blaming someone for past events and vowing to kill properly this time, gripping a gun tightly as he laughs menacingly. The woman catches her breath, overwhelmed by the danger they just faced. She complains about being heavy as she is carried, while another woman greets a newcomer named Bauchikuin with a warm smile. The group arrives at Kana-chan's house, indicated by a sign on the door. Inside, Shina-sama and the woman who carried her both react with surprise, saying ? Simultaneously. Nearby, Mahiru and Kana-chan also express shock, their voices overlapping in confusion. The final panel shows a quiet neighborhood street, leaving the moment hanging in uncertainty. A fierce woman grips her sword with determination, declaring herself as the very bone of her blade. She unleashes a powerful technique called Unlimited Blade Works, summoning countless swords that rain down in a deadly barrage, overwhelming her opponents with relentless precision. A man with a gun curses loudly, furious at someone as he surveys a street where people react with alarm. He urgently orders his subordinates to find Boji Nichiro's address from school records, insisting they tell the old man he said it himself. His tense glare sharpens as he commands them to move quickly, revealing his desperation to complete their mission. The man shouts to stop, announcing he found a location rich with cores that could meet their quota. A masked figure shows a phone screen with messages indicating the time is over and the quota remains unmet. The masked figure demands obedience to orders, emphasizing that following orders is what matters most, frustrating the man who struggles to accept it. The man yells at his subordinates to stand up and bring double the quota of cores, demanding they report back immediately. Nearby, others question why their boss relies on this man, calling him weak and annoying. The masked figure watches silently, his expression unreadable as the man storms off with his group down the street. Inside a room filled with books, two women sit closely, their expressions serious and tense. One holds a paper labeled Torikato Shina, which shocks a third person entering the room. The newcomer stammers in disbelief, calling out urgently for Bauchikuin to come home quickly, signaling a sudden, alarming development. A woman demands to know what this place is and who the girl is. Pointing aggressively, the girl freezes, recognizing the woman's face with shock. The woman sighs in exasperation, calling the situation a pain as the girl quietly walks away. The woman greets the girl warmly, praising her for already being able to greet people. She hands over a small owl figurine, and the girl thanks her shyly. The woman smiles broadly, clearly pleased with the girl's progress. The woman insists she will go herself, warning the others to stay back so they don't get in the way. Another woman protests, but the first insists with confidence. The girl watches silently as the woman leaves. Then, the girl nervously asks if the woman is related to Bauchikuin, and the woman confirms it casually. The girl urgently tries to ask more but is cut off as the woman says she's in a hurry. The girl confesses she wants to be strong like the woman, who is holding a sword. The woman asks if she's fighting, but the girl struggles to explain, stammering. The woman dismisses the hesitation, noting the usual topic and the awkwardness of talking in front of the door. The girl confesses she's always failing, spiraling despite wanting to be confident and stronger. She insists she works hard, but her words feel empty. She can't actually do anything. She struggles with her frustration, feeling stuck in this cycle. She reveals that because of how she is, Bauchikuin ignores her, and she desperately doesn't want him to see her like this. She admits she doesn't know what to do. Feeling lost and conflicted, two women overhear, one warning the other not to get too close. The taller woman points out the girl looks like Bauchikuin, suggesting it's because they're related, sharing the same aura and way of speaking. The girl begs to be fixed, promising to do anything to change. She wants to be like the woman and believes that will help her get closer to Bauchikuin. The woman decisively slams down papers, then hands the girl a sword wrapped in cloth, signaling a serious step forward. The woman in traditional attire suggests that having the sword might make things cooler, closing the door behind her. The girl reacts with surprise and confusion. Suddenly, another woman bursts in, blocking the way and glaring fiercely, causing the girls to flinch in shock. The intruder angrily demands the sword, accusing the girl of cheating since she hasn't received any gift herself. She points accusingly while another girl tries to pull her back. Embarrassed, the intruder then questions if Bao is the girl's boyfriend and if she owns the house, making the girl visibly nervous. The girl's face flushes deeply as she stammers that Bao is not her boyfriend. The intruder smirks confidently, claiming she truly loves someone. The girl struggles to respond, caught off guard by the bold declaration. Sitting casually with the sword in hand, the girl jokes that if the intruder likes the other girl, she'll stab her with the sword. Since receiving a gift means becoming an enemy, the intruder sneezes, and the girl suggests maybe the person they love has no feelings in return, leaving the intruder momentarily speechless. The girl confesses this is the first time she's fallen in love and admits she doesn't know what normal love looks like. She just wants the person to notice her, even a little, but all her attempts have failed. Her heart feels like it's slowly falling apart from the pain of unrequited feelings. She lowers her head, quietly admitting it hurts deeply. The other girl asks if she feels the same, prompting a shy, hesitant response. She explains that from her perspective, Bao is strong but distant, so she can only rely on and trust him, which is why she has to keep chasing after him. The first girl teases the other with a mischievous grin, calling her a liar when she denies love. She insists it's not about love, laughing as she says sharing romantic stories is fun. Even though she used to wish all couples would die, the other girl nervously protests but admits it's not so bad, and that the first girl is her enemy. Both girls smile warmly and bump fists, encouraging each other to do their best for their own love. One admits hers isn't really love, but still wishes the other good luck. Suddenly, a flower pot crashes nearby, startling them both as they turn toward the noise. A group of men break through a door with force, shattering the frame as they enter. Two girls watch in shock and alarm, one shouting in disbelief at their actions. One man casually notes the door was unlocked, criticizing the carelessness. The tension rises as the door creaks open further. The girl with the white headband yells out a name, her expression fierce and desperate. Opposite her, a man with spiky light hair grins wildly, holding a gun and declaring that even though the world is chaotic, moments like this matter. When he was a first year in high school, the boy crouches defensively as several feet stomp around him, a harsh reminder of the bullying he endured. The girl with the white headband gasps in shock, calling out his name, while the boy clutches his head, overwhelmed by the situation. From a distance, she watches helplessly, determined that she has to do something to help. The aggressor snarls, demanding to know what she wants, while she struggles to find the words, trembling under his intimidating glare. Suddenly, the boy is kicked hard against the wall, the violence escalating before her eyes. The attacker grins cruelly, recognizing the boy as Totoki from his class and mocking him for hiding a girl. The girl's heart races in fear and confusion, desperate to figure out what to do next as the threat looms closer. The man with spiky light hair raises his gun confidently, telling the girl not to be afraid and that he'll leave once he's done. His grin turns sinister as he demands to know where the cores are, while the girl looks confused and uncertain about what he's talking about. Suddenly, the man threatens to kill her if the girl doesn't reveal the core's location quickly. Another boy shouts at him, accusing him of being a coward who was spared last time and mocking him for likely breaking down and apologizing again. The man lashes out violently, striking the girl and calling her useless trash while ordering his men to search the place quickly. The room descends into chaos as the others frantically overturn furniture and search for something. The girl clutches her hands tightly, panic rising as she desperately demands to know where Mahina is, trying to stop the destruction. The man turns sharply, baring his teeth and asking coldly what she wants. The girl desperately pleads for the violence to stop, clutching a small sword as she trembles and begs for no more harm. The man with spiky light hair mocks her, laughing cruelly and calling her trash, ordering her to sit still as he taunts her inability to even wield the weapon. Tears streaming, she warns him not to touch anything else, firmly refusing to reveal where the cores are hidden. Her voice shakes but she stands her ground, determined not to give in. A dark figure with glowing eyes finds her defiance intriguing and encourages her to try resisting. The man with the gun loses patience and violently kicks her away, demanding she comply immediately. Meanwhile, a woman on a rooftop surveys the quiet city below, noting the lack of people and expressing urgency to resolve the situation before it escalates. Suddenly alerted by a call, she learns an enemy is attacking their home and swiftly leaps into action, vowing to return soon. A man presses his boot down on a woman's head, demanding if she still hasn't found it. She lies on the ground, exhausted and beaten. The man yells for her to hurry and find it if she wants to live, his voice echoing through the empty street as others search nearby. Inside a cramped storage room, the girl clings to a crying woman, begging their master to come home quickly. Outside, a man shouts up the stairs, demanding news of the second floor and warning that they will be killed if they don't hurry. Another man reports they found no core in the house. The man with spiky hair pounds his gun against the floor in frustration, cursing the situation and blaming the girl for everything going wrong. He screams for obedience, threatening to shoot anyone who disobeys. His men are ordered to search quickly for the cores. The man steps forward aggressively toward a group, while others stand over the girl who is now on the ground, tears streaming down her face. She silently realizes the grim reality of her situation as the men close in around her. The fight she always avoids haunts her as she lies battered on the ground, watching others stand over a fallen figure. Her hand reaches weakly for a spilled bottle, but she steels herself, vowing to fight to the end. Gathering her strength, she pulls her jacket tighter, tears mixing with determination. The man with spiky hair, sweating and tense, demands to know what she's doing. He points a gun at her, ordering her to stop or face death. She meets the barrel with unwavering eyes, declaring she won't back down, insisting Osaka-kun is the one who should intervene. The man's fear and frustration boil over as he shouts about the deadly danger of the gun. Despite the gun pressed against her face, she admits she's more afraid of her past self than the weapon, her resolve shining through the fear and tears. The man with spiky hair screams in rage, calling both her and another man trash. He fixates on her eyes, demanding she not look at him with those eyes, his voice trembling with fury and desperation as he grips his gun tightly. He fires the gun directly at her, but suddenly slips and falls backward, shocked and unable to comprehend what just happened. She kneels silently, tears streaming down her face, staring at a sword planted firmly in the ground before her. A hand gently rests on her head, and she quietly apologizes for being late. The woman in traditional clothing reassures the fallen man that he did his best. The girl, still crying, recognizes the man as Bauchi-kun, overwhelmed by the moment and her emotions. A hand grips the hilt of a sword firmly as a man with spiky, light-colored hair and a fur-lined jacket struggles to stay upright, wiping tears from his eyes. He mutters in frustration that she finally came, his voice heavy with exhaustion and pain. His face twists in fear and anger as he shouts the name, Osaka, sweat pouring down his face, while a sharp blade flashes dangerously close behind him. A determined woman in traditional clothing, her long hair adorned with a bow, steps forward with her sword drawn, declaring she will kill him today. The air thickens with tension as the judgment time has come. The man with spiky hair screams insults, calling her trash and blaming her for always getting in his way. He fires his gun wildly, vowing to kill her as rage distorts his face. A woman in traditional clothing swiftly swings her sword, cutting through the air. The gunshot rings out, but the man collapses, blood pouring from his chest, his expression twisted in pain and shock. The fallen man gasps and begs for mercy, pleading desperately for help and promising anything to survive. The woman's eyes narrow sharply, silencing his cries with a cold declaration that he is too noisy. Suddenly, a child bursts in, shouting for Koine Wunchin and Master, causing the woman to turn sharply. The man's eyes widen in surprise as the woman moves toward the entrance where others stand, her presence commanding attention and shifting the tense atmosphere. The man with spiky hair, gripping his gun tightly, shouts furiously at his group to kill the woman, threatening to kill them if they don't obey. His face contorts with rage and desperation as he screams for them to do it immediately. A woman with a large bow in her hair carries an unconscious figure, demanding the others stop following the man she calls scum. She orders them to leave quickly, her tone sharp and commanding. The group hesitates, then suddenly rushes toward the man, who panics and yells at them not to run away. One grabs his shirt, but he struggles fiercely, shouting back at them. As the others close in, he curses under his breath, overwhelmed and cornered. Nearby, the woman stands firm, watching the chaos unfold, her gaze fixed on the man. He bellows that as long as he holds the core, he will kill them all immediately, his voice filled with wild determination and menace. The man with spiky hair and the woman with the large bow both react with shock as a sudden fiery explosion erupts nearby. Two ghostly, pixelated hands reach out from the flames, grabbing at the air. The scene shifts to a cityscape shimmering with digital distortion as the man laughs wildly, calling out that it's a core. He demands to know where it was hidden, while the woman watches silently, her expression unreadable. The man cackles triumphantly, claiming that with this core, he can also receive power from that person. The woman examines a cluster of crystals, noting quietly that this dungeon is different from the ones before and that this is not the core. Suddenly, a massive explosion tears through a building, forcing the woman to shield a child behind her as debris rains down. She looks up in alarm, while the man boasts that now, with this, the likes of them are finished. A massive crystalline pillar erupts violently from the ground, shattering the surrounding buildings and sending shards flying into the air. The destructive force tears through the cityscape, leaving chaos in its wake. A group of 3 men in suits loom over a fallen figure, their leader grinning cruelly as he delivers a brutal, bone-crushing stomp to the man's face. Blood spills from the victim's mouth as the leader's savage laughter echoes, and the man collapses, a large, glowing crystal embedded in his chest, bleeding profusely. Koine Wunshin embraces a tearful girl, comforting her gently as she reassures that the dungeon is formed, despite the danger. She commands a small creature to move quickly, carrying the girl away. The girl responds obediently, and Koine's expression hardens with resolve. Walking side by side through a city street, Koine Wunshin quietly thanks a boy named Bao Chikuan for his help. He praises her efforts, acknowledging that she did her best. As they continue forward together under the urban skyline, a sharp flick of the fingers unleashes a massive, spiraling vortex of jagged energy that tears through the city, engulfing buildings in its destructive path. 2 figures stand near the aftermath as one reports that the leader just handled a target, and they decide to take the next one. A woman with braided hair speaks into a device, instructing the leader to focus on 3 places simultaneously this time. The leader, a tall man in traditional attire, acknowledges the order with determination, promising to be there immediately as the woman closes the communication. The city lies in ruins under a dark sky, with narration explaining that the dungeon's evolution accelerates from this day forward, swallowing humanity's way of life. 6 months have passed, and the destruction intensifies beyond previous levels. A woman warns Kana about the dangers outside, urging her to stay inside. Kana insists she has someone to protect her and shows indifference toward the concern for her father, Joichiro-san. She admits she can't imagine talking with either of them and walks away, while the woman quietly accepts this. Kana, with a faint smile, invites the others to dinner, suggesting they make beef stew because her father liked it. She doubts they can talk like they used to, but another woman confidently offers to handle the cooking and wishes Kana a safe trip as she leaves. Memories flash of giant pillars appearing simultaneously in Tokyo at 1421, with 54 pillars over 100 meters tall emerging in the Kanto region by 2024. The next day, a 400-meter pillar is confirmed in Tokyo, and over 1,000 pillars are observed nationwide. The government declares the pillars part of the dungeon and reports the death toll from their appearance has reached several 100,000. Amidst the ruins of a collapsed building, 2 figures stand facing the devastation. One asks what the destruction is and if the other 2 are present. The woman remarks on the smell and repeats the dinner invitation, emphasizing the beef stew her father liked. Tears well as she insists she's good at cooking and bids farewell, leaving the rubble behind. Amidst the rubble of a collapsed building, a young girl pleads desperately for help, calling out for her father and Nozomi-san. She begs urgently, insisting her injured feet will heal and warning that others will die if aid doesn't come quickly. A determined voice shouts defiantly that they won't die, while a girl on the phone insists her sister cut it out, claiming Mahina is fine and if their father is also safe, everything will be okay. She hurriedly ends the call, saying she has no time to talk. At a crowded public space, a girl is asked if she's fighting with her sister. She is told that if all goes well, she can speak to someone next week. Smiling, she reassures others that it's okay and encourages a younger girl to come along, their spirits lifting despite the tense atmosphere. Returning to a familiar place, a girl greets Kana-chan warmly. Reflections on how everyday life has changed flood her thoughts, noting that what was once extraordinary is now ordinary. When asked about Shina-san's whereabouts, the response is vague, but the group embraces this mystery with affection, celebrating what makes her unique. A girl sits quietly, reflecting on her family after being asked if she spoke to Buchi. She admits she and her sister argued, but when questioned about Kana-chan not returning to her family, she denies any complaint. Another reassures her, saying they feel relieved having her here, prompting a soft response of acknowledgement. A soldier explains that if the threat is small, JSDF troops can handle it, but the monsters are tough. The country calls it subjugation, but in truth they only delay the monsters. He calls the apostle of peace vigilantes who help by making barricades and searching for lost children, offering doubled rewards without question. A man warns about the Inochi Shiratsu, a group exploiting the chaos to do as they please, committing crimes worse than monsters by killing and crippling innocents and destroying buildings. A girl realizes the name Fukuzawa and questions if the man is babysitting a dungeon victim, shocked by the connection. The girl reveals that a family was attacked by Inochi Shiratsu, showing images of destruction and a smiling child. She explains the group tortures female victims until death and discards them. The man notes the mother's body was never found, likely taken by them, and cautions against giving false hope despite the pity of the situation. A man insists he's ready to work with the Apostle of Peace for free and asks for more details about them. She warns he's misunderstanding. They're not trading information. She explains the Apostle of Peace has lost many lives, some dying in revenge attempts. She pleads for help to prevent further deaths and offers compensation for their request. She reveals rumors linking the Inochi Shiratsu gang to the dungeon, saying they kidnap people while hoarding cores. She notes most kidnappings occur near destroyed pillars. As she walks, a figure approaches, commenting on the convenience of meeting near the dungeons, and asks if she is Torikato Shina. She introduces herself as a dungeon clearing contractor and asks if they need anything. The man says they're searching for skill holders, people like her, and wants her to join them. She reacts with surprise, questioning if he means skill. The man names the gang Inochi Shiratsu, confirming it's a ghetto gang. She grips her sword tightly, preparing for what's to come. A woman asks if the other is really from Inochi Shiratsu, the feared group of murderers. She admits she's been searching for them too and warns she might show no mercy depending on the situation. A man holding a rifle presses her to decide quickly if she will join, saying he's not free either. The woman tells him not to be impatient and to get to the point. The man admits he can't decide without asking questions first and wonders about Inochi Shiratsu's true purpose. The woman shrugs off his hesitation, saying it's fine if he doesn't join, and she's okay with that outcome. The man accuses her of cheap provocation and vulgarity, revealing he's heard rumors about them all. He thought they were skilled but now sees her as a spineless weakling. He bluntly states he has no use for a woman whose only good quality is her breasts, then turns to leave, saying goodbye. The woman reacts quickly, swinging her sword as he walks away, ready to strike. She swings her sword, shocked it missed its mark, questioning how he dodged. The man sneers, calling her a coward with nothing but vulgar looks and breasts. He declares no matter the leader's approval, he will never cooperate with her kind. He insults her further, saying a woman with only breasts and an empty head is useless. She narrows her eyes, silently judging him. The man challenges her to try striking him, promising to answer any questions if his sword even grazes her. She accepts the challenge, daring him to see who the real loser is. They clash fiercely, her sword meeting a flurry of his attacks. She analyzes his moves, noting the dullness of his feints and the monotony of his swings. Both remain focused, the man recalling the leader's words about this predictable style. The man observes she has skill but lacks experience, as if she skipped the learning curve and became a master only in technique. He questions if her ability enhancement matches the leader's. She confirms using a skill. While he contemplates her potential, the tension rises as they continue their intense duel. He senses his movements are being read and wonders if she possesses skills herself. She counters that something more important is at play. She questions why he isn't trying to kill her, pointing out there's no rule forbidding involvement. He warns that dying would prevent her from realizing her weakness. She mocks him, saying he can't think with just his breasts. He resolves to figure out her skill and report to the leader, noting neither her character nor skills seem special. She unleashes a swift, fluid attack, surprising him. He demands to know what she's doing as she presses the assault with precise strikes. She launches knives midair, revealing her skill. He questions if she's playing tricks, but she smirks confidently, maintaining the offensive. She unleashes a barrage of knives raining down with deadly precision, confirming her skill with a calm, confident yes, of course. She dismisses the attack as just mere tricks, moving fluidly as the knives continue to swarm, forcing her opponent to dodge desperately. Suddenly, an impossible number of knives appear from an unexpected angle, completely different from the leader's skill. She taunts that only children have such big mouths, then challenges if the strike counts as a hit. With a sly smile, she offers a sharp retort, daring her opponent to taste the steel in her mouth, while the other silently vows to return the favor. She hasn't been home in 3 weeks and has only managed to stay at Butchikuin's place. Exhausted, she watches the news filled with nothing but bad reports. A small voice calls out that she's hungry, prompting her to agree to get something to eat. She energetically decides to make curry, her mood lifting as she prepares to cook. She notes that electricity and water will soon be restricted, so she plans to cook first while electricity is still available until 7 o'clock. She carefully handles pre-washed rice. Mindful not to use too much water, since the fridge is unusable, she chops vegetables into small pieces and stores them in plastic bags. She explains that curry saves water and adds the roux to the cooked vegetables in the bag, sealing it before boiling water in a pot fueled by propane gas. After setting the ingredients, she realizes she forgot to press the switch on the rice cooker. Leaving the rice uncooked, panic rises as the electricity cuts off. Leaving her stunned, her companion asks how they can eat curry now, and she is left speechless, overwhelmed by the sudden problem. Determined, she searches how to cook rice with gas and promises to cook it herself despite never having done it before. She carefully pours rice into a pot, sets the heat to medium and follows instructions to boil, then simmer on low heat for 20 minutes until a fragrant smell signals it's done. She and her companion pray the rice is properly cooked while wrapping the plate and preparing to wash up, just as a timer rings, marking the end of their cooking challenge. The rice sparkles perfectly as the two smile in relief and joy, celebrating their success with laughter and excitement. The aroma of curry fills the air, prompting a man nearby to sniff deeply and wonder aloud what kind of household eats curry at a time like this. Despite the odd timing, he admits to feeling a sudden craving for curry. A woman in a patterned dress and cape confronts a kneeling girl, asking if she has given up and insisting she will be told everything. The girl, bruised and tired, reluctantly agrees to lead her to their hideout, her expression weary but determined. The scene shifts to a quiet urban street, then inside a modest room where a girl thanks another named Kanna for the clothes she received. Kanna responds simply, and the girl looks surprised as she opens a box containing neatly wrapped items. The woman from before lies unconscious on the floor, prompting questions about why she is there and if it is okay that she is not home. Another woman speculates she still wants to be together with someone. Outside, the woman who arrived apologizes for failing to protect the house, but the other reassures her the pillar was growing regardless and praises her efforts, leaving the apologizer quietly grateful. Night falls as two people walk together, one asking what the other wants to eat. The girl recalls wanting a steamed bun from a convenience store, reminding the boy of the first time they shopped together when he dropped the bun. He protests that she ran away when he tried to share it, but she insists Butchikuin gave her half, teasing him about eating more than half. Their playful exchange softens the mood, hinting at a close bond beneath the teasing. She quietly confirms that he really is Butchikuin, her gaze lingering as she stands apart. He tells Totoki to stay with the others since the refugee camp is only for women, then asks her to leave the task to him. She nods silently, their hands briefly clasping in a moment of understanding before he moves forward with determination. He urges her to trust him, his expression earnest and hopeful. The silence that follows is thick and awkward, broken only by a small, playful bonk between them. Inside the camp, she steels herself, thinking of Mahina-chan, Kana-chan and Sol-chan. When Koine complains about being hungry and cold, she offers her heater pack and suggests playing cards to pass the time, trying to lift the mood despite the lingering tension. A nurse reminds Kana-chan that her helping shift is about to start, but she clings to Koine, confessing she doesn't want to go. Koine offers to switch shifts and asks Kana-chan to stay put, showing quiet concern as the hospital ward looms overhead. Alone, Kana-chan lies on a bed, clutching a key-like object close to her chest, tears welling as she hides her face in her arm, overwhelmed by emotion. Outside, two figures walk along a quiet street as a phone rings. One answers nervously, apologizing with a cute voice, while the other watches with a bored expression, unimpressed by the interruption. The call ends quickly, and the girl promises to return soon. Nearby, two masked figures argue over the girl's large chest, warning each other to keep their distance. The tension escalates as both shout in disbelief, their expressions fierce and incredulous. A tall building stands under a cloudy sky as a tense phone conversation unfolds. The caller agrees hesitantly, promising to make contact again, confirming the instructions received. The call ends with a decisive press of the hang-up button. Inside a dimly lit room, two masked figures sit on a leather couch, one pulling another up by the hand. They note that someone is being brought along and lament that Kuro can't use the phone. A third figure, masked and hooded, holds up a phone displaying a sticker that reads, "I'm busy. Sorry." They question whether this situation needs to be reported to their boss. In a stark, shadowed room, a figure with spiky hair glares intensely at a phone screen showing a cartoonish bird. The scene cuts to a silhouette of a woman being grabbed roughly by the hair, her body tense and dripping with sweat. The atmosphere is thick with menace and confusion. The spiky-haired figure's eyes widen in shock as a dark silhouette forcefully pulls the woman's head back. Holding her hair in one hand, the woman is bent over a bed, completely vulnerable, while a shadowy dog lies nearby, adding to the ominous tension. Concerned, a young man asks if Kana-chan is all right. He recalls she mentioned being hungry earlier and resolves to quickly bring her some food to share. Determined, he acknowledges the need to be strong as he approaches a crowded area with tents, suggesting they switch places. A girl named Totoki explains she switched with Kana-chan because she was feeling unwell. A woman with long dark hair introduces herself as Katsuragi, greeting Totoki warmly and correcting the mistaken identity of another person. Walking through a quiet urban street, two figures approach a scene of destruction. One asks if Inochi Shiratsu caused this damage, but the other denies involvement and urges to speak directly to the leader. The taller figure demands the other's purpose, but the shorter one insists the leader should be asked instead. When challenged to kill her if she's so angry, she retorts that killing her won't be easy. They arrive at their destination. The taller figure notes the leader will return soon, but both notice something odd from a nearby window, prompting a confused reaction as they stand before a gated building. In a dark room, two masked figures discuss whether one regains strength. One asserts he will act as he pleases. A phone screen shows a message. The boss is coming too, with instructions not to kill him yet. The other masked figure acknowledges this with a sinister grin. One figure orders the other to wait here, but the request is met with confusion. The taller one insists again, demanding she wait like a good girl, fluttering her fingers teasingly. The other narrows her eyes, certain she saw something inside the building. Inside the Sunflower Kindergarten, children peer out a window, watched by a serious woman who notes the place has children. She considers that the mother's body was never found and was likely taken away. Suspecting a hostage situation, she warns that if that's true, she can't act rashly. The other figure acknowledges her caution. They approach the building's entrance, the shorter one silent and contemplative. The taller woman urges to look inside first. Wrestling with the thought that a child might be involved with Inochi Shiratsu, she wonders if she should help the children. Smiling children and a woman beckon them from inside the window. The taller woman reacts with surprise, while the shorter one studies the scene carefully, her expression unreadable as she contemplates the situation. Inside the kindergarten, a woman stands surrounded by curious children who ask who she is and why she's there. She wonders if this is probably not a kidnapping. The woman questions if the children's teacher, sensei, is a friend, while another doubts the kidnapping claim, noting no murderers would linger here. A burly man wearing a bare apron bursts in, demanding to know who she is. The woman's companion frowns at the man's brashness. The children and adults nearby question who let her in. While the man explains he was approached by the children, the woman recognizes the man as possibly Inochi Shiratsu and is told she must be Torikato Shina, the dungeon contractor. The woman is identified as a celebrity by the children, who ask the principal about her. The principal, wearing glasses and an apron, denies knowing her and dismisses rumors she might be Sumiko-sensei's girlfriend, causing shocked reactions. The principal instructs everyone to follow her, saying the situation seems unrelated. Children invite Sumiko-sensei to play, surprised she's present despite being off today. The woman smiles warmly and agrees to join them immediately. The companion watches with suspicion, questioning the man's intentions. The principal leads the woman down a hallway, politely guiding her inside. The tension rises sharply as a murderous intent suddenly surfaces, growing stronger and more palpable. A determined figure steps forward, her feet making a decisive sound as she moves. Her sharp gaze locks onto the approaching threat. The woman with glasses calmly warns, reminding the other to stay put, her tone serious and unwavering. She questions if the other understands Japanese, emphasizing her command to remain where they are. Her disdain for those obsessed only with physical appearances surfaces, revealing deeper frustration. The woman with the bow senses a familiar presence, her expression tightening as she recognizes the vibe. Shock breaks through as the woman with the bow realizes who the other is. Exclaiming in disbelief, the woman with glasses admits she hadn't noticed before, but confidently remarks that women always notice her. The tense atmosphere continues as a man nervously suggests waiting outside for the leader's arrival. The woman with glasses questions the origins of the children present and the nature of the place, but the woman with the bow cuts him off, insisting all questions be directed to the leader. Her sharp command leaves no room for argument. The woman with glasses warns to stay away from the children, insisting they don't know anything about her either. The woman with the bow questions what was said, but the other insists it's too noisy here and suggests leaving. Outside, children play behind a gate while a cloaked figure slithers closer, its presence unnoticed by the kids. The figure approaches the gate, preparing to breach it. The sudden noise startles the women, who demand to know what just happened. Panic rises as the woman with glasses realizes the danger. Her eyes wide with fear, the woman with the bow calls out urgently, trying to stop the other from running. From above, the children and adults gather around the fallen gate. Checking on the cloaked figure, the adults warn the children to run away, fearing danger. Nearby, two men discuss killing the figure if it comes out, one smirking that it sounds fun. The woman with glasses launches a fierce kick at the cloaked man, who grins wildly as he braces for impact. Her eyes narrow with determination as she strikes him hard, sending him crashing to the ground with a heavy thud. Nearby, two children watch in shock, whispering if the woman is Sumiko-sensei. She stands over the fallen man, ready to fight. A shadowy figure questions if the man is known, but the answer is no. A woman with long hair observes silently, recognizing the attackers as those allied with Osaka. The cloaked men discuss their plan, deciding not to kill the man but to extract information about his friends. The woman with glasses demands he tell his friends everything. Suddenly, a monstrous figure with horns appears, roaring fiercely as the woman stands her ground. The horned creature unleashes a powerful attack, but the woman remains resolute. The cloaked man boasts about going easy on her so she can still speak. The woman with glasses and the long-haired observer both realize the power belongs to Inochi Shiratsu, confirming her identity in the heat of battle. She delivers a fierce, precise strike to the man's face, the impact cracking sharply. Both crash to the ground with a violent rumble as she charges forward relentlessly. The man grimaces in pain, bloodied and beaten, as she snarls a fierce warning, demanding he not disgrace the name of Inochi Shiratsu. Sumiko-sensei, known for her popularity among children despite her cold demeanor, addresses the group with quiet determination. She insists that she and the man she speaks to are equals, not master and disciple, asking if that is acceptable to him. The man, calm and resolute, explains he is content being the only one at the Sunflower Kindergarten, warning that increasing comings and goings would raise suspicion. The group falls silent as the man asserts his strength in combat, prompting a woman to call out to him as leader. Whispers ripple through the gathered men, but Sumiko-sensei meets their doubt with a firm, earnest plea to trust her. She declares her understanding and entrusts the man, Murasame, with the responsibility ahead. He acknowledges her with a simple, confident reply, while others exchange uneasy looks. From above, two figures watch the scene below, questioning if both fighters are Inochi Shiratsu and if this is an internal conflict. The woman with glasses demands to know why they are fighting amongst themselves, while a masked man laughs menacingly, urging them to continue the battle without hesitation. The fight erupts as a figure dashes forward with fierce speed, launching a powerful strike. The opponent grunts, struggling to defend against the relentless assault. The attacker follows up with a swift, forceful blow, driving the enemy back. The attacker lands a heavy kick, sending the opponent crashing. With a mocking grin, she challenges the other, demanding to know why they pretend to be Inochi Shiratsu. She taunts them to call their allies if they truly are who they claim. The battle intensifies as the attacker smashes through debris, forcing the opponent to dodge desperately. Concern flashes across her face as she notices a group of bystanders nearby. Realizing the danger they are in, she braces herself, preparing for the next move. The attacker spins with deadly precision, warning the crowd to watch out. A swordswoman snaps her blade into position, stepping forward to protect the onlookers. She asks if everyone is all right, her eyes sharp and alert as the tension lingers. A fierce clash erupts as a woman blocks a sudden attack from a man wearing glasses. She asks what he's doing with a sly smile, but he snaps back that the question belongs to him. The man's heavy kick sends her flying, prompting her to wonder if he has metal in his shoes while the crowd watches in shock. Nearby, two figures discuss the girl, one telling Kuro he feels like he's seen her before, but Kuro disagrees. The larger man boasts he could easily defeat both opponents with his strength, while the man with glasses glares intensely, preparing for what's next. The man with glasses scolds the girl for her tone and attitude, declaring they don't need someone like her in Inochi Shiratsu. The girl laughs off the accusation, saying she has no intention of joining. The children nearby appear confused, and the man grits his teeth, frustrated that his involvement drew them out unscathed. The man grabs the girl's arm firmly as he orders the principal to bring the children inside. The principal agrees, calling everyone over. Two children urge the girl to run, but she insists they go inside with the principal and others. She promises to protect them, her resolve clear as the group moves to safety. The girl walks determinedly alone past two figures, one large and hulking, the other cloaked and mysterious. The cloaked figure and the large man debate if this is really the same person they knew before. Noting how different she looks now, they admit they can't even recognize her face anymore. The girl clenches her teeth, sweat dripping down her face as she questions if she was being followed despite her carefulness. Her thoughts spiral, blaming a big-breasted woman for the chaos. But then she tells herself it doesn't matter. The large man questions the inconsistency of killing a brat but sparing this guy, confused by the situation. Without hesitation, the girl launches herself at the large man. Striking him hard with a powerful blow, she moves swiftly and fiercely, catching him off guard as she lands a solid hit. Her glasses reflect her fierce determination. The fight intensifies as the girl dodges and counters, landing a sharp smack that sends the large man crashing into the ground and shattering the floor beneath him. The cloaked figure watches silently, surprised by her strength and resolve. She slams her foot down hard, smashing the floor beneath the large man as she glares fiercely, her glasses catching the light with sharp intensity. The large man recoils, surprised and defensive, while the cloaked figure grins menacingly behind her. She spins through the air, delivering a powerful kick that sends the large man crashing back with a heavy thud. The impact echoes as the large man staggers, and she readies herself, eyes blazing with determination. Breathing heavily, she watches the large man struggle to rise, confused by his resilience despite her brutal attack. The cloaked figure calls out, gathering others nearby, while the large man rubs his neck, clearly injured but still standing. She steels herself, realizing the fight is far from over as she acknowledges the skill of her opponents. Knowing physical strength alone won't win this, she resolves to act decisively, repeating to herself that she will do whatever it takes to overcome them. A sinister smile breaks through the shadows as a voice taunts that if they struggle against these small fries, they won't catch anything at all. The tension spikes as two figures exchange sharp glances, one clearly alarmed. Suddenly, a commanding figure drops to the ground, declaring they'll handle things personally. The others protest, mentioning Kuro's involvement, but the figure is resolute, stepping forward to take charge. She senses the arrival of yet another villain, feeling overwhelmed by their sheer number. The presence feels too much to handle, far beyond what she expected. A towering figure berates two others, calling them idiots for failing a simple task. He warns them that their ruthless leader, Kuzuhara, won't bother with such minor crises. The girl, eyes sharp behind her glasses, vows to tear their enemies apart until they beg for mercy. The man grins confidently, insisting he'll handle it himself and commands them to get in. The man summons dark, slithering tendrils that coil around his limbs. Preparing to strike, two cloaked figures emerge from shadowy portals. Ready to engage, the girl watches, shocked by the sudden display of power, as the tendrils writhe menacingly around him. The girl moves with lightning speed, snapping her fingers to launch a powerful attack that lands with a heavy thud. The man stretches his elongated, shadowy arms toward his foes, warning that if they intend to die, they should confess quickly. The cloaked figures demand the location of Kuzuhara, while the girl realizes this enemy has unexpected tricks up his sleeve. The man with the dark tendrils lifts the girl with glasses into the air, questioning if they actually fused their powers. He wonders if Kuzuhara usually only trains weaker fighters or if his voice is just soft. The girl, struggling in his grip, screams for help, desperate to call others to her aid. The woman watching from above finds the scene unbearable to witness. The girl shouts fiercely that this is her job and demands the other woman stay away and not interfere. The man tightening his grip on her warns her not to get in his way. The tendrils around her limbs crunch ominously as he asserts control. The man, panting and strained, is told he should call for help now. The other man admits he snapped under pressure and demands a louder scream. He reminds her she was told to scream, emphasizing his patience despite waiting 10 years. He vows to wait patiently no matter how long it takes. The girl, battered but defiant, demands Kuzuhara reveal himself, warning that her precious companion will die otherwise. The woman nearby anxiously notes Kuzuhara is not coming. The girl insists she alone is enough to handle the situation. Though she gasps and pants heavily, she corrects herself, asking for help instead, as the man's shadowy tendrils crack tighter around her. The man mocks the name Inakashirazu, laughing at the idea and accusing her precious friends of being too scared to save her. He calls Kuzuhara wise for sacrificing one person to protect all others, insisting his hideout remains secret if she stays silent. Bringing them back to square one, the woman, battered and bruised, retorts that this plan is too smart and laughable. She coughs and drags herself up, denying his claim. She refuses to bet her life on a reckless gamble, insisting she risks everything for what she must protect. Blood drips from her hand as she declares herself a man sworn to live by risking everything for Inakashirazu. Panting heavily, she contrasts a man willing to throw his life away with one who will never risk everything. She warns him not to insult them. Flinching, she recalls a child's plea to trust her. She reflects that she has bought enough time for the children to escape safely. Now, she is risking her life for that purpose, discarding the need for her injured arm or anything else as she steels herself to continue. She dashes forward, determined, declaring that all she needs are sensei's teachings. Launching herself with fierce speed, she aims to strike, while her opponent swiftly dodges, eyes sharp and focused, preparing to counter. The enemy smirks, eyes narrowing as he glares, then lashes out with dark, tentacle-like limbs. She grimaces in pain as the shadowy appendages stab and splatter against her, forcing her into a desperate struggle to withstand the brutal assault. A fierce confrontation ignites as a determined woman leaps at a man cloaked in shadows, their blades clashing with deadly force. The man stumbles back, dripping blood, shocked to recognize her. The woman declares she no longer fights as a mere dungeon delver, unsheathing her weapon with resolve. Children plead desperately for her to stay safe inside, but she pushes forward despite their cries. She slashes through a massive, glowing shop interface, signaling her defiance. The man sneers, mocking her as the contractor, but she remains unshaken. The man boasts about capturing a big fish using Kuzuhara as bait, stretching his shadowy limbs to attack. The woman grimaces, realizing her strikes are ineffective, but she steels herself as the man's shadowy tendrils close in, while she lies battered on the ground, glasses cracked and breath shallow. A powerful strike lands squarely on the man cloaked in shadows, sending him reeling backward with a pained grimace. A hand flicks confidently, signaling a decisive move with the word, "Ipon." The man screams in agony, his eyes wide in shock, while a woman lies collapsed nearby, whispering a sorrowful apology. The man's expression shifts to one of stunned recognition as he hears her say, "Sensei." Another man appears, smiling with a casual but ominous greeting. "Long time no see, Ryudo." The shadowed man's face contorts in a mix of horror and disbelief at this unexpected reunion. The shadowed figure roars with renewed fury, tearing at his own form as he shouts, "I've been wanting to meet you so much, Kuzuhara." A woman watches in shock as the monstrous figure grows even larger, towering over the scene. Ryudo admits he was late today, apologizing casually. The shadowy figure grins menacingly before roaring that next time he'll come to see him. With a sharp gesture, Ryudo commands "Ipon," signaling a decisive move. A massive energy blast streaks across the cityscape, hurtling toward a distant figure standing alone. The force of the attack is immense, shaking the surroundings with a thunderous boom. The blast explodes near the figure, who remains calm and composed despite the overwhelming power. A shocked onlooker watches the scene unfold, eyes wide with disbelief at the display. The figure reveals himself as Kuzuhara of the Inakashirazu, introducing himself with a confident smile and offering a request. He flicks a card toward the woman nearby, who internally questions his trustworthiness and wonders if he is an enemy, noting his impressive skills and power. Urgency fills the air as orders ring out to check the safety of all children. A man questions what happened to Chake, noting that the man in question was supposed to be the liaison. A determined woman steps forward, revealed as the true leader of Inakashirazu, while a serious man named Kuzuhara Saito looks on with resolve. Kuzuhara commands a fallback, instructing to secure the reconnaissance team and the route, then evacuate the children immediately. The leader of Inakashirazu orders vigilance, telling them to keep an eye out and have a dummy run alongside. She listens intently as Kuzuhara demands to know her purpose. She responds with a bright smile, inviting him to speak briefly despite their circumstances. The woman offers a proposal. Inakashirazu will lend its strength for Kuzuhara's purpose if he cooperates with them. She grips her sword, causing Kuzuhara to tense, questioning what if her purpose is to free the people kidnapped by Inakashirazu. The woman's eyes sharpen with determination as she confirms this intent. Kuzuhara laughs heartily, realizing their interests align. The woman refuses to accept blindly, but he insists their goals match. Suddenly, Kuzuhara reveals that the real Inakashirazu members are not the ones causing trouble in the city. They are fakes. He explains these imposters are stirring chaos while pretending to be Inakashirazu, and he wants to borrow her strength to stop them. Kuzuhara insists their goals align since both want to stop the fakes causing trouble. The woman considers this but politely declines, preferring to act alone. He acknowledges her skill, noting she can take out all sorts of threats. She admits curiosity about his skills, especially after seeing his earlier fight. He points out she already defeated her opponent, but with his appraisal mirror, she can identify the real problem. They share a laugh and she confirms she sent the enemies flying. Kuzuhara questions what will happen if the fakes are truly dead. Asking for her take, the woman looks serious, but before she answers, a commotion arises. Someone calls out that Same-san is involved. People rush toward a bloodstained scene. Same-san stumbles, injured and covered in blood, urging others not to look. She insists she's fine and demands to be taken to the hospital herself. Despite protests, she insists on going alone, telling everyone else to care for the children. Same-san lashes out, insisting she's fine despite her injuries, pushing away concerns as she struggles to stand. Her expression hardens, but a man approaches quietly, causing her to pause and wipe tears away while apologizing. She kneels, apologizing deeply to the man she calls sensei, promising she won't fail again. Her intense vow triggers concern from onlookers, who wonder if she's reliving a painful memory. She breaks down, begging for forgiveness in anguish. The man embraces her tightly as she screams in emotional torment. He soothes her, telling her it's all right, while she clings to him, her sobs slowly calming. Another woman watches with a serious, concerned gaze. The man reassures her again, holding her firmly as she grips his jacket. Nearby, others notice her calming down with relief. They rush to prepare a stretcher and stop her bleeding, moving swiftly to aid her recovery. She reflects that with the medicine. Injuries like hers are no big deal. A confident woman mocks the idea of relying on others, dismissing the notion of obligation with a sly smile. Frustration flickers across her face as she questions whether she truly owes anyone anything. Memories flash of fierce battles, with a determined woman fighting monstrous foes, urging someone named Kuzuhara to come out and save his precious comrades. Her expression hardens as she recalls the desperation and the reckless courage of those risking their lives. A stretcher carrying an injured woman is brought forward. She angrily rejects the offer of healing, calling it a lie despite being shown a small elixir that promises instant wound recovery. Her glare sharpens as she threatens to kick the healer, who pleads for her to stop. The woman's arms and legs begin to glow and shimmer as the healing magic takes effect. She stumbles, astonished that her wounds have vanished so quickly. The scene ends with a surprised observer watching her regain strength, while the woman steadies herself, newly healed. A hand extends an invitation, met with a sharp, angry refusal. The woman snaps back with a fierce what? Her bruised face shifts from defiance to a moment of quiet contemplation before she reluctantly clasps the offered hand. Outside, the woman bows deeply in apology, holding the hand firmly. The other figure announces their departure. But the woman protests with a loud, frustrated demand, asking if she won't be kicked. The departing figure teases, warning she'll get kicked right now, prompting a chase. In a dimly lit room, a man with spiky hair laments his battered body while holding a glass of wine. Another man questions if Izubushi and Korwa are coming this way. Relieved that orders were followed, they discuss the need to change strategy, acknowledging Kuzuhara's use of skills. A shadowed figure reveals an idea, questioning if the other knows Torikato Shina, calling her a troublesome contractor that must be crushed first. The man listens intently, intrigued by the suggestion to get help, finding the plan interesting. The clock reads 2:15 as a tired figure lies on a couch, exhausted and admitting to only 1 hour of sleep the previous night. The quiet hallway stretches empty, emphasizing the stillness of the night. A punching bag sways gently in an empty gym, the sound of heavy impacts echoing. The figure begins to prepare, unzipping a jacket and pulling on a sleek, form-fitting outfit beneath, the transformation signaling readiness. Outside, the early morning light filters through power lines as a delivery person carries a box up the stairs. The figure stands alone in front of a closed gate, then returns inside to change, removing the jacket in a small laundry area. The figure carefully inserts contact lenses, then brushes long hair before picking up a pair of glasses. The final touch completes the transformation, readying the person for the day ahead. A woman adjusts her glasses, her expression calm and focused as she prepares herself. She smiles brightly, rubbing her cheeks and squinting as if waking up fully, with renewed determination. She reaches for a bag by the sink, declaring herself ready. A voice greets her warmly, acknowledging her presence as the day begins. A man angrily yells at Chake, demanding how many times he must be told before understanding. He blames Chake for the near death of Same and the children, insisting anyone could have done a better job. The man accuses Chake of repeatedly making the same mistakes and getting in the way. Chake looks expressionless as Same-san tearfully apologizes, overwhelmed by the harsh words. Same-san panics, apologizing profusely for the injury, while others urge him to stop crying. Concern arises over whether Same-san should be moving already, but he insists it's nothing serious. Chake calmly tells Same-san not to worry and advises him to be more careful next time, offering a gentle smile. Same-san promises to be more careful, but is lightly scolded not to let it go to his head. He beams with excitement, a pacifier in his mouth. While others prepare for an upcoming executive meeting, Chake and Same-san share a quiet moment before Chake is told to wait until the meeting ends. Another man offers to stay with Chake so Same-san can be left in capable hands. In a meeting room, a group discusses the overwhelming number of reports since their last gathering just 3 days ago. One questions if Ryudo died, but another dismisses it, saying he's like a zombie and this is the third time. They acknowledge their position has been compromised. With recent damage causing team member deaths and disappearances, Same-san reacts with frustration, demanding to know what is going on. Concerned voices discuss the children at the Sunflower Kindergarten. Noting how frightened they've been since the incident, they manage to evacuate them safely but worry about increasing guardians due to limited personnel. One warns that if their base is destroyed, they'll be wiped out. Emphasizing the risk is unacceptable. Same-san listens quietly as someone suggests he return to the children as a teacher. Same-san firmly refuses, admitting he won't go back. He takes responsibility for his arrogance and declares he will focus on fighting Ryudo as a combatant. He has already secured the leader's permission and vows to resolve the conflict swiftly for the children's sake. He promises a flawless plan to win this time. Another voice proposes reconsidering an alliance with Torikado Shina. The group reacts with mixed expressions, some tense and wary. A stern warning follows. Relying on a turncoat like Torikado risks betrayal, and if the executive's will is divided, the Inaka could act without the leader's consent. The question is posed directly to Same-san. Should they cooperate with Torikado Shina or not? Same-san remains silent, contemplative, as the others await his answer around the table. The scene shifts outside to a quiet urban street, underscoring the weight of the decision. A figure instructs Solchan to stay and guard the place, while a small girl waves goodbye, urging them to take care. Concerned voices ask Sol if everything is all right and press their master about finding the kidnapper's hideout, lamenting that Kuzuhara destroyed all evidence. They question whether cooperation with Inaka is possible. The master firmly refuses to team up, explaining distrust toward Kuzuhara, the boss of the other group, and noting the others were unwelcoming. She insists her own skills suffice and points out Sol is present as well. Sol appears, cheerfully assuring she can handle the situation alone. The small girl wonders if this is Totoki-san, while Sol greets Tomo-san, who confirms no one else is around. Suddenly, the master calls out to Sol, who is creeping nearby, hinting at a serious moment. Ryudo approaches menacingly, but the master calmly clicks her fingers, stating she has no intention to fight. He apologizes, revealing he came looking for the mother of a child named Fukuzawa Kanna. The master silently questions where this is leading as they face off in a narrow alley. The man admits surprise that the woman was released, explaining it happened by chance and that his underlings took her away from the ruined house where the old man's corpse and a woman were found. He offers a formal apology as the boss for overlooking this, but the woman sharply demands his true aim, calling him shameless. He insists his kindness is genuine and promises to reveal one more thing. Standing in a narrow alley, the man asks if she has ever killed her family. She firmly denies it, stating she has never done anything like that. He then reveals that Kuzuhara killed his own parents, and his own as well. The man demands help, revealing his family was killed by Hohara and pleading for aid. The woman responds with a smile, declining and calling it a pain. He offers to pay generously, throwing money around while she asks how much he wants. He suggests 10 million, and she accepts but only after stating she has two conditions. She raises the price to 200 million yen, which shocks him. She explains the first condition is the price, and the second is that she won't help him at all. He angrily questions her meaning. She promises not to cooperate with Inaka, explaining no one wants to face two skilled fighters at once. She guarantees a clean one-on-one fight with 200 million yen. He angrily calls it a shame as she walks away, leaving him standing alone in the alley. The man declares he will side with Inaka and confront her alone. The woman laughs, refusing to take any money from Inaka. He demands 200 million yen, threatening to help Inaka for free if she refuses. She calmly raises the price to 200 million yen for a one-on-one fight. The man angrily shouts that this is no longer a negotiation. Gripping his sword, the woman smirks, warning him he seems to misunderstand the situation, then suddenly lunges forward, attacking him. She firmly states this isn't a negotiation but a threat, ordering him to pay 200 million yen or die. The man is visibly shaken, while she mockingly admits there might be a chance he could win. The woman demands 100 million up front and the rest once Kuzuhara is dead. The man, sitting relaxed with a woman beside him, agrees to meet again in 3 days at the same place. The woman beside him taunts him as he contemplates the deal. The woman taunts the man, reminding him how tough he was back home and mocks him for now being the one threatened. He snaps back fiercely, threatening to make her disappear, but she only smirks and mocks his anger. He lashes out with a punch, which she dodges with a teasing smile. 3 men discuss the outrageous 200 million yen demand, doubting if the man even has the cash. The woman confidently explains that all will go according to plan once the trap is set, except for the contractor. The man clenches his teeth, tension rising as they prepare. Suddenly, Two men explode violently, their heads blown apart, while the woman and man remain calm and unfazed. The man grins wickedly, eager to begin, while the woman warns to cut it out, calling his behavior dirty. He admits boredom and insists on starting the fight. Outside, two women discuss the massive sum demanded. Questioning why so much is needed, the woman with the bow explains she came to talk about it. Another woman, cheerful and grateful, praises Katsuragi Tomo for her kindness at the shelter, revealing a warm friendship between them. A woman urgently calls out to Katsuragi Tomo, trying to stop her, but Tomo remains calm and silent. Another woman points out that the person with her is Torikato Shina, a close friend. Tomo and Shina are teased for being so close, and one tells them to stop gawking. Tomo asks Shina if she's heading out to search for Inaka Shirazu, surprising a nearby woman who reacts with concern. Tomo listens as the woman explains rumors about troublemakers breaking into empty houses near the shelter. She says the real Inaka Shirazu are more like a vigilante group, while imposters are causing problems and framing them. Tomo wonders if that means the real group are actually good people, and the woman smiles, agreeing it's probably true. He reflects on the situation, noting the real Inaka Shirazu are lying low to avoid the imposters. She considers asking around the shelters for information, while the woman cheerfully offers to help since she just learned about it that morning. Tomo looks determined, realizing there might be more people who know the truth than expected. The woman insists Tomo is serious about this, and Tomo confirms she is. The woman invites her to work together, and Tomo responds with a serious expression, ready to take action.